Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, homeowners, when is the last time you checked your home title? Scammers are everywhere, and they're targeting your equity. With just a single forged document, they can file at the county. So don't wait until it's too late. Find out if you are already a victim today. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code BILL to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. On this Wednesday, President Trump is floating the idea of a $2,000 direct tariff payment to Americans, and that is obviously a reflection of his concern over high consumer prices, which are hurting the Republicans. But there are a number of important concepts attached to this $2,000 payment, and every American wouldn't get it. It depends on income. First of all, it is a giveaway, free stuff, and that's exactly what the Democrats are selling. However, the funds from foreign deals, tariffs, pay for the largesse. So, shouldn't working Americans benefit from that? After all, our hard-earned money buys foreign goods, and the president can charge countries to get access to the American consumer. That's what a tariff is. If you want to sell stuff in the USA, you've got to pay up front to the American government. And why do foreign nations want to sell stuff here? Because Americans buy far more things than anyone on earth. So the $2,000 payment is kind of legit, but it's not going to be easy to get it passed. Back in a moment. Imagine a pharmacy that actually makes your life easier. All Family Pharmacy handles it all. Consultations, prescriptions, fulfillment, shipping. As we head into cold and flu season, now is the time to stay prepared. From antibiotics and antivirals to ivermectin and more, they've got you covered. Licensed doctors review every order for safety, and everything ships right to your door. Please visit allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Save 10% today. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures this morning going to be starting back out towards the 40-degree mark. We'll continue to see temperatures back towards mid-60s this afternoon, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures into Thursday look very similar, an increase in cloud cover than this upcoming weekend. Friday into Saturday, temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll cool down slightly into Sunday, a high of 63 degrees. And next week, some isolated chances of some showers. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Let's get moving, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Thank you to everybody who's been a part of getting our food drive off to such a strong start. Just thank you so much. And of course, you want to find the locations of the drop-off bins, just go to newstalkstl.com. All right. Our own Tim Jones with us on Tuesday's program because we've got the government shutdown coming to an end. So what's next? Not just what's next as far as getting caught up from the government dysfunction, well, the extra dysfunction, but also what's ahead when it comes to leveraging this in the 2026 elections. Call me cynical if you want, but I think a lot of this had to do with the 2026 messaging. So here's what Tim had to say on Tuesday's program.
Republicans clearly won this round. I don't even know that the Democrats got anything other than the promise of a vote that they're going to lose anyway, possibly in December. I know there was a vote on the healthcare stuff, but I think that's going to probably come back. So Republicans won this round. Who gets to use this more for more leverage in 2026?
Yeah, good morning, Mike, Susie, Jerome. Thanks for having me back again today. So, yeah, I mean, isn't it amazing that we're sitting here 24 hours after the shutdown has been announced that it's going to proceed to a slow and painful end? Kind of like how everything happens in DC, right? It's we can't just end the shutdown. We have to go through a bunch more hoops. But that's the way we make the old legislative sausage. Isn't it amazing that we're sitting here saying that Republicans won? I mean, when was the last time we were able to say that? And that's because Republicans finally didn't just fold at the first sign of doing something politically expedient. I'm sure there's a bunch of political consultants and people out there saying, oh, just do this, just do that, just do the other thing. And even amidst the onslaught that they were receiving from most of the national corporate liberal media, Republicans said, no, these are red lines in the sand. We cannot fund healthcare for illegal aliens. And you bumbling bozos, you Democrats, you were the ones that voted back in March to not extend these Obamacare tax credits. So we're sorry that what's happening is what we told you would happen, and that's that premiums would continue to go up because Obamacare is a complete fraud. It's a complete farce. It is a complete hijacking of taxpayer money, which flows directly from the U.S. Treasury into the deep pockets of big healthcare insurance companies. And they stood firm. And because they stood firm on principle, on public policy matters, they won. Now, Mike, was that the politically expedient thing to do? No. And so what Republicans need to do next, so they don't get slaughtered once again like they did in the 28 midterms on the healthcare issue, is they have to come up with a Republican healthcare plan of their own, because Democrats have lost the argument on law and order. They're now the outlaw party. They've lost the argument on open borders. They remain the party that wants to have this illegal alien invasion. The issue of abortion has largely gone back to the states. And if you notice, that's not really talked about much more on Capitol Hill. And so they're going to go back to their old tired playbook. And there's one page left, and that is the healthcare problem.
Mm-hmm. 15 years later, and we're still trying to dig out from that. Tim, I have a kind of an unusual question for you, but it occurred to me last night because I sat and watched the entire proceedings last night on the Senate floor as we got ready for them to take the final vote. I think they went through about eight different iterations. There were motions to table. There were tree filling something or other. There were all kinds of little ins and outs of Senate procedure that is, as familiar as I am with the sausage making process, I didn't really readily understand. What's your go-to for people who want to understand more about the legislative process in terms of some of these sort of obscure procedural rules that are followed in legislative bodies?
Well, Susie, that would be some excellent bedtime reading, and that would be to pick up the Senate rules themselves and leaf through them. I mean, or Robert's Rules of Order. You know, this is largely based on the Senate rules are largely based on Robert's Rules of Order, which is the ancient manual of how you conduct. Long story short, in simple layperson's terms, how you conduct a meeting. It's how you conduct a meeting. What happened last night, Susie, on the Senate floor was nothing more than a big fancy meeting paid for by us taxpayers of what was going on in the U.S. Senate. The Missouri Senate follows extremely similar rules. The rules in the Missouri House and Senate are largely patterned after the rules that the U.S. House and U.S. Senate follow, which are largely patterned after the original rules of running a railroad or a meeting, and that would be Robert's Rules of Order. So yeah, Susie, it's tedious, but it's meant to look. Our system is complex and cumbersome and complicated and tedious and messy, but it's honestly the best system of representative democracy that we have yet seen on planet Earth.
Yeah, and the nuance gets lost on a lot of people. People sometimes forget that politics is supposed to be hard to get stuff done. That's kind of the point. I don't want a government that can just on a whim declare something and then implement it without that sort of cooling saucer that the Senate is supposed to be. So there's actually a purpose for that, even when it's really, really frustrating. And of course, now you mentioned the messaging the Republicans have to do because the word of the day is affordability, and the Democrats have an emotional appeal. And I think they want to lose this vote. Because they can say those dastardly Republicans are taking away your health care.
Right.
instead of pointing out that Obamacare is what drove up the cost of everybody's health care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike, purely factually, and I think this is proven when you look at the headlines that have popped up over the last few days, even from the left-leaning national corporate media sources, they all pretty much say the same thing. Republicans won, Democrats lost. One of the headlines I saw this morning, Senator Chuck Schumer's record-setting government shutdown ends in humiliation. I mean, the adjectives cannot be strong enough. Factually, this was a massive, huge loss for the leadership, or the lack thereof, of Chuck Schumer and of Democrats writ large. And you know what? Factually speaking, thank God, right? Because where we were headed, let's say Republicans, in order to get this done, folded to all of the Democrats' demands. Those demands were insane, providing $1.5 trillion of new spending at the taxpayer expense to fund things like illegal alien health care, to expand the Obamacare the super subsidies, right? Not the original. Look, the original Obamacare structure is still unfortunately alive and well and kicking. What was the argument over during the shutdown was whether or not to expand the COVID era super subsidies that were available for pretty much anyone, anytime. It was the dream, the pipe dream of Bernie Sanders is coming true, moving all of America into single payer government funded healthcare. So Republicans said no. Now, politically, Mike, to your point, was that a good thing to do? Well, not unless they have an answer to that healthcare problem, to that equation. Republicans won in the sense that they did the right thing. Public policy wise, Americans are better off for this, whether they realize it or not, because at some point you have to stop the spending. You have to apply some fiscal sense. You have to get back to regular order. How about the fact that the Republicans are going to pass 3 appropriations bills through regular order? Mm-hmm. That's the first time that any appropriation bill has passed through regular order, I believe, in around 2 decades. But to Susie's point, and Mike, to your question, the next thing the Republicans need to do is come forward with a plan that truly provides a reform, not to our health care. We have the best health care in the world, but the structure of insurance and subsidies and phony baloney hocus pocus that occurs around paying people who are in that giant bloated bureaucracy, that needs to be fixed. That needs to be reformed. That needs to change. And Republicans need to come up with their own version of providing that social safety net of healthcare to those who truly need it, not just to anybody who just thinks they might want it, or they are going to get clobbered in the midterms.
Tim, I know there's no way for us to know for sure, but what do you think Chuck Schumer really expected to come of this? Did he expect the Republicans to cave, do you think, or did he just not care and just was going to inflict whatever damage he could, ahead of the elections last week and running into the midterms?
Susie has a great question, and I've thought about it a lot, and I honestly think he was just hoping something would happen on a wing and a prayer, because for outsider looking in, but as someone who has been in and around legislative processes now, I hate to admit, for over 20 years, I picked up on a thing or two every once in a while. And one of the old adages that is stuck in my head from former Senator, now Congressman Bob Onder, who served in our Missouri State Senate and engaged and fought against plenty of filibusters on that Senate floor. Bob would always tell me, Tim, before you even think about engaging in a filibuster, you better know exactly, or you better know generally where you want to end up at the end. And I don't think Chuck Schumer followed that maxim. I don't think he had an end game. I think he was just hoping that something would happen.
Yeah.
That the media would save him, or public sentiment would turn so viciously against Republicans, which it never really did, despite the best efforts of some of his media allies. It never got so lopsided that Republicans felt they had to give in, and thank goodness they held the line. There will be no health care for illegal aliens. And, I know people have difference of opinions over this. Chris and I actually disagreed about this yesterday. I don't think they're going to extend in the purest sense of the word. I don't think they're going to extend the COVID era Obamacare super subsidies, because the one thing we've learned through this shutdown is how bad and how much of a failure Obamacare is. Now, they might come up with some new, I'm not saying they're going to do nothing. They'll come up with some form of new healthcare option. But Republicans have been telling the American people that they were going to pull back, dismantle Obamacare now for over 15 years, and they've failed to do it. And what's happened is it's gotten to be a Frankenstein monster, almost completely and utterly out of control. And that's exactly what Bernie Sanders wants. Bernie Sanders wants private health insurance to become so burdensome and expensive that we all say, oh, government, come in and please help us. And then we are all moved over to some communist Soviet era single payer broken healthcare plan.
All right, 314-912-1019. That's how to get involved in the conversation here. Once again, the food drive, along with the St. Louis County GOP Central Committee, is up and running. We are working to help Feed My People right here in St. Louis. We're here to help that ministry reach more people and not just fill their plates so they have something to eat, but also to help them move on up and become more self-sufficient and just be in a better place in life. You can be a part of that. NewsTalkSTL.com for more information. All right, this is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs, attorney at law, has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs, attorney at law. Call 636-949-0010, extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com. Brian and his team, they're just amazing people. They're so proud of their operation. Pride in every installation. You could see that in the Google reviews. Pride in the great quality, pride in the great pricing, pride in the great variety, and pride in the fact that you can go into the store right off of Highway K at O'Fallon, or the store will come to you. That's the promise of O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit BlueOceanMediaGroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right. Well, looks like the shutdown may be over today officially.
Wow.
Yeah. Possibly within hours, but you never know with politics and politicians. Early this morning, and I've got the soundbite in the news dump here in just a little bit. They had to do a committee vote, then it goes to the full house, all that whole sort of thing. And every Democrat still voted against it.
Wow.
Against the plan to reopen the government. So you're actually probably going to see a pretty close vote, but I suspect that the fix is in. Republicans are going to reopen the government, but every Democrat's going to stomp their feet and throw a fit and all that sort of thing.
So even after all of this, the Democrats still have not learned their lesson.
That would be an accurate statement, it appears. Wow. And so I think what they're doing is they want their sound bites because they want to run, as odd as it sounds, I think they want to run on Obamacare in 2026. You know, you Republicans are trying to take away our health care. Well, no, you did that. And so, you know, do the Republicans, like, now the pressure's on them to have a plan. Okay, my plan is let the free market at least seep back into it. Yes. Ideally, I would love a free market system, but then people say, but then somebody who has all these health problems, they'd never be able to find insurance. Okay, well, you know, probably. But the alternative is that I have to pay for everybody else, and my costs keep going up because I have to pay for everybody else. And I take really good care of myself. And I'm somebody who's had a heart attack, so the idea that we're responsible for our own health and our own health care and our own finances is just foreign to every Democrat and way too many Republicans.
Absolutely. I mean, again, if everybody here, you of all people are probably the person that takes the best care of themselves, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
and then I was looking into this. I'm like, well, how did people survive before the government subsidized healthcare? Well, you had people actually, one, taking care of themselves, and two, you had like people in your life that you could rely on. And the number one cause for people to go to the doctor these days or to go and seek any sort of health treatment is for chronic illness, which is 100% preventable with a regular lifestyle. The number two is preventative care. So if people are going to a doctor to prevent the illnesses that they're giving themselves. Come on, people, we can do better.
We can, we won't, but we can. So Republicans will probably come up with some plan that's a watered down version of the Democrats one and then claim victory. That's basically, I mean, it's the old adage. Now I say that hoping to be proven wrong. And I would love to eat my words on this. I would love to eat crow and go, boy, I was wrong. Those Republicans really stood firm and they got really free markety.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to say that. I would love to admit that I was wrong on this, but it's the old adage where Democrats want to drive off the cliff at 100 miles an hour and the Republicans go, no, absolutely not. We're doing it at 50 miles an hour. And so, I mean, that sort of thing. So we'll see whether the Republicans allow the Democrats to set the tone. Media, obviously, in the pocket of the Democrats. But it comes down to, do you want big government and claim that that's caring, even though big government has increased the cost and has, frankly, I remember when Obamacare first went into place. Within a year to year and a half, my dad lost like 2 or 3 of his specialists because they said, it's not worth it. I'm retiring.
Yeah.
And so he literally lost the physicians, and he had a lung fibrosis, which is eventually what killed him. He probably picked up. Our guess is that he got it from when he was a firefighter and he was fighting a bunch of fires with asbestos in the buildings.
Yeah.
So that's our guess. But they were just like, you know what? I'm within 4 or 5 years of retiring anyway. I'm done. This isn't worth it. And he lost healthcare providers because of Obamacare.
So the exact type of person that we can all agree should have been able to have affordable access to care was no longer able to get affordable access to good quality care.
Not for the specialist, no.
Because of government intervention. That is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, we just saw the impact right away, but media rushed out to say, hey, look at this single mom with 10 kids and now she can afford healthcare. It's like, well, yeah, because the rest of us are paying for it. And one of the things with Obamacare, remember, is that they couldn't, quote unquote, discriminate against people. So you could weigh 400 pounds and they weren't allowed to charge you more because you were high risk. They weren't allowed essentially to discount if you took really good care of yourself. And those are all things that a market would provide incentives to do. So, that we'll see where it's going to go from here. All right. We'll get into that just a little bit more. Okay. I saw this on Channel 4. This is funny. So there's been a glitch in the system for applying for the senior tax freeze in St. Louis County, which, glitches happen. It happens here. So several St. Louis County seniors who are applying for that property tax freezes, they're getting emails saying, okay, your application for your liquor license is almost done.
What?
Yeah. And the funny part is that it's not even a liquor license in St. Louis County. It's in some place called Kane County, Illinois, which I don't even know where that is. It's not around here. I know that.
I think I've been there before, but that is so you can either get a glitch saying that you were dead. Sorry, you're not actually dead. Or
yeah.
We want to freeze my taxes. Well, here's a liquor license.
Right. Precisely.
So
I'm reading from KMOV's story on this. Teresa Adams of Florissant said she received an unexpected email after renewing her senior property tax freeze application online this month. Quoting, I resubmitted. I didn't have to upload any more documents besides my driver's license, and I got a confirmation email from Kane County, Illinois, saying that my application for a liquor license has been submitted. So party at grandma's, I guess they've got the good stuff if they got the liquor license.
I mean, there's that song, Grandma got ran over by a reindeer. I think I know what was going on when she got ran over by the reindeer. Now,
well, she drunkenly walked out in front of the reindeer.
I mean, okay. But if you got a liquor license instead of a tax freeze, I mean, there are ways to leverage that to where you could pay for your taxes now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe if Sam Page keeps opposing the senior tax freeze, it's just driving them to drink, so they get their license. And it might. I'm not. Listen, glitches happen. This isn't Sam Page's fault. It's not. It's just really freaking funny.
Because liquor licenses are not the easiest thing to actually even get in the first place.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I at one point I actually wanted to open like a venue that offered drinks and could have music. So the fact that your tax freeze somehow qualified you in this scenario for a liquor license, I mean, anybody out there close to retirement, start applying for those freezes and get those liquor licenses right now.
Hey, you know what? You've earned it.
Yes.
You know what? You've seen a lot of crap throughout the course of your life. You deserve to have a drink. Just
absolutely
have at it. I got no ill will towards that whatsoever.
You will be the most popular person at bingo night. Just saying.
Oh my goodness. So the county is obviously doing the thing where they're like embarrassed. It's a glitch. We're so sorry. Where I'm like, you know what? It happens. It's
not the end of the world.
No, it's not. They'll get it figured out. But in the meantime, listen, just figure it out. Get their property tax freezes in place, and then you know what? If you want to throw in a liquor license, do it.
Amen.
I'm just saying, you know what, because some people, maybe they don't want to go to a club. They don't want to go to a bar. Maybe they do want to go to a nursing home and just drink up. Just why not? Oh, geez. Okay. A lot going on here, including, in the news dump here. This is interesting. We've heard about all the horror stories of, truckers who can't read or speak English.
I've met them. Yes.
They have found a bunch of those in Missouri.
Oh no.
Yeah. And so I've got the update for you here at 6:04, except Missouri actually did something about it. But then when you trace back, how could this possibly have happened? I've got the answer for that in the news dump as well. Missouri Net did a short article on it and kind of went through it. So I've got that update for you here in just a couple of minutes. News dump coming your way, like I said, right around 6:04 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This holiday season, help Feed My People fill the shelves. News Talk STL and the STL County GOP are partnering for an annual food drive, November 10th through December 21st. Drop off your non-perishable food donations at all Bartolino's restaurants, all Chris's Pancakes and dining locations, and all 3 Michael's flooring outlets, or at the News Talk STL studios.
Hey, it's Susie Moore, and together we can make a difference for families in need.
Visit newstalkstl.com for complete drop-off locations. JC's Wayback Machine.
We play all the great songs you know and love, but that don't get played on the radio anymore. Stones, Doobies, Genesis, Bruce, Steve Miller. They all have great tunes the big corporate stations ignore. But we play them along with a healthy dose of pop culture. Also, this week's A-List interview of the week is with SNL alum Bill Hader. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9 on News Talk STL.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
US Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With US Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose US Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. US Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. After the Senate signed off on a bill to reopen the federal government, now it's up to the House, and a vote there is expected today. Once it clears the House, the end of the shutdown measure will go to President Trump. And even as it nears its end, the shutdown continues, taking a heavy toll on air traffic controllers.
After a weekend that saw thousands of flights canceled, airlines canceled another 1,700 flights by early Monday afternoon and nearly 1,000 for Tuesday. The Senate took a first step towards ending the shutdown Sunday, but final passage could still be several days away. Tuesday will be the second missed payday for air traffic controllers and other employees of the Federal Aviation Administration. It's unclear how quickly they might be paid once the shutdown ends.
Correspondent Marissa Duhaney, Transportation Secretary Duffy says he supports the idea of a nice bonus for controllers who have been showing up for work throughout the shutdown. Turns out it was a father and daughter. They were on a hurricane relief mission who died in Monday's small plane crash in South Florida.
The Christian missionary group Ignite the Fire has identified their founder, 53-year-old Alexander Worm, and his 22-year-old daughter Serena as the people who died in a small plane crash near Fort Lauderdale on Monday. Their 1976 Beechcraft King Air plane was carrying humanitarian aid bound for hurricane victims in Jamaica when it narrowly missed some homes and crashed into a pond in Coral Springs. Deputy Chief Mike Moser is with the Coral Springs Parkland Fire Department.
We received several 911 calls of a plane that had crashed in the waterway in the lake behind these homes here. Our fire rescue and police department responded.
Audio courtesy WSVN. I'm Jennifer King.
The FBI-led Joint Terrorism Task Force will investigate what Attorney General Bondi calls violent riots at a Turning Point USA event on Monday at UC Berkeley. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures higher, Dow futures up 62 points, NASDAQ futures ahead 113. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The national debt is soaring and the dollar is weakening. Rising deficits and market instability are creating a perfect storm of economic uncertainty. In unpredictable times, more people are turning to physical gold and silver, real tangible assets that have protected wealth for centuries, as a way to safeguard their savings and retirement. And now with the Fed preparing another rate cut, precious metals are poised for dramatic gains in the coming weeks. At Advantage Gold, we help you move your IRA or eligible 401k into physical precious metals, tax-free and penalty-free. When you call 800-741-GOLD, you'll receive a free gold guide packed with real-world strategies to help protect your investments. Call 800-741-GOLD or visit AdvantageGold.com. Call 800-741-4653. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-7...
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures this morning going to be starting back up towards the 40-degree mark. We'll continue to see temperatures back towards mid-60s this afternoon, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures into Thursday look very similar, an increase in cloud cover than this upcoming weekend. Friday into Saturday, temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll cool down slightly into Sunday, a high of 63 degrees. And next week, some isolated chances of some showers. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Will Dems or Republicans prevail in the fight over the very broken Obamacare? Chris Salcido of Newsmax will explain at 5:20.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you being intentionally dense?
Susie Moore.
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
We're a different kind of clown show.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, the shutdown could be over today, but the effects of it will not be over today.
Ripples.
Yes. Missouri finds hundreds of truck drivers who can't speak English fluently. Not just a California problem. Difference is Missouri's doing something about it. Blues had a good night. Good night last night.
They did.
They did. All right, coming up on 6:06 right now. Let's go and dump some news on you here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, so the U.S. House Rules Committee voted early this morning, the wee hours of the morning today, to advance to the full House a funding bill that would end the government shutdown. Here's how it ended.
8 yeas, 4 nays.
The ayes have it. The motion to report is agreed to.
The Democrats still voting against reopening the government. They're not seeing the writing on the wall here, Susie.
No. And I just love hearing Virginia Fox there. That was her at the very end. I love her. I love her so much.
So the House is expected to vote later today to pass the bill. President Trump says he will sign it. I suspect once they pass it, whatever stuff they do to a piece of paper, they will probably hand carry it over to the White House right away where the president's going to sign it, thus ending the shutdown. I'm going to hedge myself a little bit because you never know. Could politicians get really goofy? Yes, but I would say 95% the shutdown officially ends today. Is my guess.
I think you're right. They've got a procedural vote that they've got to take, and they've got some floor debate that they'll allow, and then there'll be the actual vote.
Well, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries needs to get his, clips for social media for the 2026 elections.
Does anyone long for Hakeem Jeffries clips?
Well, the Hakeem Jeffries does.
I mean,
but other than him, no.
Could he be more vanilla?
Who?
He's just it's like watching paint dry.
It is. He just doesn't have that charisma.
At least with Nancy, you were worried like her teeth might slip out or something. There, something exciting might happen. not with Hakeem. And I love him, but no, there's like no charisma.
I know there's none. But someday, maybe later, maybe sooner. I don't know. I'm telling you, he's going to be the Speaker of the House.
I know.
Yep, it's going to happen.
And we're all going to fall asleep.
Yep. All right. Trump administration, as we know, they are trying to modernize the air traffic control systems because, among other things, there's a shortage, and they were having problems with that before the government shut down, and now they're really having a problem with shortages of air traffic controllers. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, and I got to tell you, this one's going to hurt just a little bit, Susie.
Okay.
I'll tell you why in a second. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tells Fox's Hannity one of the ways he's hoping to increase the number of air traffic controllers.
Congress has to increase that retirement age of 56. What I can do, though, is offer a waiver up to 62, from 56 to 62. I've offered any controller who's 56 and is willing to stay on the job, I'm offering them a waiver if they pass the medical.
I feel attacked right now.
Because you're 56?
Not yet. I'll be 54 this year.
Okay, whippersnapper.
56 is the mandatory retirement age?
A lot of teachers retired at that age, too. To be honest, I know that seems 56? So weird. Too. My sister retired at 54. I'm like, what the heck? I'm going to retire at 80.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't think I'm ever going to get to retire.
No, me neither.
No, I'm like that retirement age of 56, but they got to pass a physical.
Well, I guarantee
you try to steal a base on me, Sean Duffy. I'll see how far you can have 89 of the 90 feet, but I will nail your ass before you get to second base.
I guarantee you've been getting AARP stuff for years already.
Oh yeah, I did. Well, honestly, my brother Chris put in as a joke on my 50th birthday, so I started getting all that crap.
I started getting it then too, and I don't think it was a joke. I just think that they hunt you down.
Jeez. And I'm like the mandatory age of 56. 56?
Yeah,
I know guys still bodybuilding at 56.
I'd already be done.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so
sitting on my porch, rocking in my chair. I chose the wrong career path, but I love what I'm doing here. I love this.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so over 16,000 flights were delayed Tuesday alone. Nearly 2,000 flights were canceled. So that's a total of 18,000 flights affected. Air traffic controllers have been calling out of work and retiring amid the shutdown. So they're not getting a lot of those guys back, gals and guys back. Yeah. Those who stayed on the job, they're going without pay. Once the government reopens, Sean Duffy told reporters, he said we should have at least 70% of their pay apparently within like 48 hours.
Good.
And then the rest within like a week or week and a half. So they are trying to make that up as quickly as they can. Yeah.
Now, I will say the only blessing is they were already ramping up to add more air traffic controllers before the shutdown happened. So at least they're not, they're going to be coming out of this, but they're going to at least have a stock that's on its way.
Right. Exactly. They just got to go through all the training process. And also they've got to modernize the entire system, which is like just 30 years behind.
Minor details.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. I'm going to get into this a little bit more, I think about an hour or so in a more depth, but check this out. Missouri officials have cited and pulled CDL licenses from almost 500 truck drivers. Okay. The drivers failed English proficiency testing. Almost 500 of them. In some cases, MissouriNet is reporting that the drivers were stopped by police, not allowed to get back in the cab because they could not communicate in English. The trucking companies had to send other drivers out to pick up the truck and go, but they weren't letting that guy back in.
Wow.
Yeah. English fluency requirements stopped being enforced in 2016 and under the Obama administration, and they were brought back this year because of an executive order from President Trump.
Good on Missouri for complying and trying to get it, but it stinks that they weren't enforcing that for the past decade. In my prior career as a lawyer, we handled a lot of trucking accident cases. I can tell you one of the last ones I handled involved somebody who was a driver who I suspect, had I gotten to the point of taking his deposition, would have needed a translator.
Yeah. There's because they're not allowed to use any translation help during the testing.
Yeah.
But that was just not enforced.
Somehow because the need is there and the people are there willing to do it. That's a safety issue.
Oh, without a doubt. All right. So 705. Let's go into more depth on that.
Okay.
705, because there is another side of this that there's another aspect to consider as well. All right. Darren Bailey says he is staying in the race for governor in Illinois. The Republican made that announcement this week. As you probably remember, Bailey's son, his daughter-in-law, and two of his grandchildren were killed in a helicopter crash last month.
So awful.
Yeah, it really is. So I don't know when he's going to get back on the campaign trail, but he is staying in the race.
Well, he's got to decide what's best for him and for his family, but that's just got to be so hard.
Got a follow-up to this. We talked about this, was it yesterday or I think it was yesterday. We talked about the Berkeley situation with Turning Point USA getting all crazy.
Right.
So the Justice Department is launching an investigation after that violence at that protest outside of a Turning Point USA event at the University of California, Berkeley, and the blame being put on Antifa, which the Trump administration, remember, has already designated a terrorist organization. And I think accurately.
Yeah.
I think they accurately did that. So on the Ingram angle, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, says that there will be a thorough investigation.
I also have concerns about UC Berkeley's history of not protecting conservative speakers on the campus. And I also have concerns, as the top civil rights lawyer in the United States, about whether the Berkeley police are doing their job under the law to protect citizens equally.
Okay, so she goes on to say that she thinks the university police may have violated the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, and at this point is accusing them of being biased.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty
you don't
want
to mess with Harmeet.
Yeah. She seems like she's on a mission on this one.
Well, yeah, if she takes on a cause, you do not want to be on the opposite side. Let me just say that. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what, if anything, comes out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the Supreme Court has agreed to decide whether states can continue to count late arriving ballots.
Justices took up an appeal from Mississippi after the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last year that the state law allowing properly postmarked ballots that arrive shortly after Election Day to be counted violated federal law. Mississippi is among 18 states and the District of Columbia that accept such ballots. President Trump strongly opposes those late arriving ballots. The case will be argued in the late winter or early spring. Greg Clugston, Washington.
I'm not a fan of mail-in ballots at all, personally.
No. Absentee.
That's one thing.
Vote in
but
person.
That's at least in person.
Vote in person.
Yeah. All right. The Blues get the win over the Flames. Final score at Enterprise last night was 3-2.
Yay!
Don't try to make me stop. No inspiration. You have a soul so dark it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination, making cold minds.
Mike Ferguson.
What's the matter with you? I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
I see your indifference. Stop it right now.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Johnny Tobacco, he's host of Wise Guys on Newsmax. The polls are saying that Kami Mandami is going to be the next mayor of New York.
Well, you know, Chris, I don't know what they say out in St. Louis about polls, but here in New York, we say polls are good in 2 places, strip clubs and firehouses. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
I just, before I get into the content here in a second, I want to point out that somebody in this room a week or two ago, complained that it was still too warm for November, or a week ago or so, and wanted some cooler temperatures.
Did you do it, Jerome?
I plead the fifth.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be back in the 60s today, but have you learned your lesson, Jerome?
I have learned my lesson and then some, and I do apologize to all the good people of the area because I did not mean this cold. Okay.
I did not even wear a coat this morning versus yesterday. So it's already warming back up.
It is. Okay. I'm just saying be careful for what you ask. Just saying here. All right. Here in just a second, I want to get into this. Why would we want to import hundreds of thousands of communists into the United States, or is it not that simple? We'll get to that here in a second. This interview between Laura Ingraham and the president was really, really interesting, I thought. And I got to give her some credit. She was holding firm with the president.
She was.
I got a clip from that here in just a second. But there is a lot to keep up with. Red State, obviously, the place to do it, correct?
It is.
That's right. So, Susie, what are the must-read articles today on Red State?
I'm so glad you asked me that.
This is the Red State Rundown.
We were just talking about this a little while ago. Harmeet Dillon is letting UC Berkeley know that they were out of bounds with the way they handled things at the TPUSA event. We've got an article up from Nick Arama. AAG Dillon lowers the boom on UC Berkeley after TPUSA violence. Like I said, you don't want to mess with Harmeet. I don't want to get on her bad side. I'm glad she's on my side. I'll just say that. We've got a piece up from Adam Turner, one of our columnists. It's called The supposed great victory of Zoran Mamdani stinks to high heaven.
Yeah, I saw that headline. I didn't have a chance to read it, but that headline kind of hooked me in. I'm going to be reading that a little bit later.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to really absorb it.
Yeah.
But it's worth a look. Adam does good deep dives, and he's kind of a political wonk.
Yeah, we've had him on the show before.
So yeah, check that one out. And then the last one is also by another columnist called Shoot on Sight in Chicago: The Price of the Left's War on Law Enforcement. And it's just an op-ed talking about the dangers that are being brought about by this activism on the left that's turning into violence.
Right. All right. Okay. So President Trump doubles down on his plan to issue 600,000 student visas to Chinese students. Yeah. I mean, because he got some, he first announced this. I want to say this was a few months back that he was talking about that. So it isn't like a brand new thing. But he was questioned by Laura Ingraham about that on the interview that aired on Fox this week. Here's this part of that discussion.
You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what? Well,
I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans?
You would have the
fans of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges and universities.
So we're dependent on China to keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have. I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
I mean, really? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. We've had a lot of problems with the French where we get taxed very unfairly on our technology where, they put 25% taxes on American products. Look, assuming everyone treats us badly, because that's the way I am, but we take in trillions of dollars from students. The students pay more than double when they come in from most foreign countries.
I got to tell you, because I got to give Ingraham credit there. She was asking tough questions and following up. Now, my style isn't to interrupt during an answer, but I got to give her credit there on that. And first of all, I don't know that a lot of Chinese students are going to historically black colleges and universities.
Yeah, that was an interesting leap to
I
make.
don't know that that's happening, but the here's what the president said that's true is that the students who come in from the Asian countries, including China, they pay upfront, they pay cash, and it's a cash cow for colleges, whether it's Korea, Japan, China, and so that is true. So it is a financial cash cow. I personally don't care if we have a lot of colleges and universities starting to go under on this, because the academy has overall, I don't think, been a net positive for our culture in the past several years, but it's also a market-based thing. So he's talking about 600,000 for China alone, when China's not our friend. I mean, Laura Ingraham had a good point there.
She has a great point there. And as much as I appreciate all that President Trump does and has done, and I'm happy to have voted for him, he was wrong in this. And I saw another clip from the interview last night that was problematic too. And I'm sorry. Well, let's say China offered us $3 trillion for, all kinds of trade secrets and all kinds of, at what point is that trade and good foreign policy, and what part is that bribery or whatever? I don't think I don't think he has thought through what the strong argument is for allowing this, and it completely runs counter to what our messaging and understanding has been, because we are not friends with China right now.
Right.
And having that influx of students has been an issue. So I think they need to figure this one out and do a better job with their messaging.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are in essentially a bitter peace, for lack of a better term, with China. We are neither one of us, I think, wants to go to war, but at the same time, it seems like China's been doing all but firing bullets to try to get us to, weaken our nation. And it wasn't that long ago under the Biden administration where they shared logistical intel about Ukraine with China, and China passed it on to Russia during the war.
Yeah.
That was only a couple of years ago. I think it was earlier this year, we had the students that were the lab students that
In
were
Michigan,
in Michigan that were trying to import a fungus that was known to be a biological terror asset. Like it could be a bioweapon. So I don't understand why it's so important that especially that many. And if a university on its own does not have the merit to stay open, well, then I'm sorry, but that's the way that the free market's supposed to work.
I think he's been maybe listening a little too much to the tech bros between that and the H-1B visa issue. And I just think that they're looking at this the wrong way. And I don't think it's going to sell. I don't think it's going to sell to the MAGA base.
No, well, that's what's going to be interesting is there has been some pushback, but I'm not really a MAGA guy, obviously. I play nice with MAGA. There's some things I think they're right about, some things I think they're wrong
feel like
about.
I'm hybrid. So,
but what do you think the reaction's going to be? Because a lot of times MAGA kind of says, well, the president says it, so therefore let's go with it. And this kind of violates one of the core things that people have rallied around in that movement.
I think you're going to see a core group of people that will support him no matter what, who will continue to try and do that. But I haven't looked to see, what kind of feedback we're getting on this. I haven't really even been on X to look and see. But my suspicion is just based on how things happened when that whole H-1B visa thing happened last year, I think you're going to see a lot of pushback. And it's not about xenophobia or anything like that. It's about, is this putting American interests first? If it is, you're not selling why this is in our interest.
Well, Ingram went on to ask, but we have the talent here to do that. And his answer was, no, we don't.
Exactly.
I mean,
and that was
very, very bluntly, no, we don't.
Very, very ill-advised, I would say. I mean, that's you're basically insulted to saying your people are dumb.
Yeah, or not qualified for these jobs. And,
right.
And the reality is that we really do have the best, higher education system when it stays focused on educating. We also have a higher education system that's been culturally destructive in many ways. But the students who come in, they're a lot of times they're in a bubble away from all of the cultural chaos.
Well, and why wouldn't you want to invest in your own people? If they don't have the talent or the skill set yet, why wouldn't you want to invest in developing that in your own people?
Yeah.
I understand there's a financial interest there, but I don't think this was a good interview for him, at least the parts that I've seen. And I think he is going to see some pushback. And you know what? He may pivot because of it, because sometimes that's what happens.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I think you're right about the tech bros. Like, hey, we don't have, enough talent in the IT or the whatever, the web or the AI or the whatever the case is. We've got to get some more of these. But here's the thing is we've also over the years, just 3 years ago, we actually found the CCP has hidden literal police departments embedded in the United States to monitor their own
in
citizens.
New York City, and I think in Boston. I wrote a couple of those articles. Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're importing communist loyalists to learn at our expense and then most likely use the knowledge against us down the road.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
I think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, my buddy went to SIU back in Illinois, and they actually had a Chinese professor that had been embezzling money and trying to launder and get intel and like secrets about how the school functioned, send it back home. And people that come from China, it's not all Chinese people, but a lot of the people, the nationals that they allow to come here, they have surveillance of your phone. You are still under CCP guidelines when you are in other foreign nations, and 600,000 of them are going to be going to various universities across the United States. I want to see a silver lining in this, but I'm having a hard time accepting it.
No, I am too. And I do think you're going to see pushback on it.
Yeah. And also I got to question the CCP's efforts at intelligence and recon and stuff, if they think that SIU is a big threat to them, or
now
you're going to target somebody.
I mean, of all the schools, that was a weird choice.
Yeah.
But even if but still, it was SIU of all places. If they consider that, I mean, what better universities could these people be going to potentially have more lab operations or student projects or just things in general that they could benefit from having operatives in?
Yeah.
Allison on Rumble, she points out the spy police stations in the U.S. that I just mentioned. And she also says that's not America first, nor making America great again. So yeah, maybe we're going to see some big pushback to it. I just thought, and I think he was unapologetic in doubling down. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds if there is that large scale pushback.
Yeah, it will be. But as I said, he will sometimes pivot when they float something and it gets pushed back. He will go, and he'll revamp it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about getting rid of the state income tax? We have loud applause here in the studio. Governor Mike Kehoe is floating a plan about that, and we're going to talk about that when we come back at 6:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
In the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay?
on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures this morning going to be starting back out towards the 40-degree mark. We'll continue to see temperatures back towards mid-60s this afternoon, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures into Thursday look very similar, an increase in cloud cover than this upcoming weekend. Friday into Saturday, temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll cool down slightly into Sunday, a high of 63 degrees, and next week some isolated chances of some showers. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
If you're worried about losing your health insurance through Medicaid, we have great news for you. New government regulations have expanded the Affordable Care Act. And now you may qualify to get health insurance for you and your family through the Affordable Care Act. Call now to learn if you qualify. We know the healthcare regulations regarding Medicaid, and we've helped thousands of people find quality, affordable health insurance. Plus, all our research is free to you. So call us. With just one call, we'll shop from hundreds of different insurance companies to find you the right affordable health insurance plan. So if you're worried about losing your Medicaid insurance, call right now. Speak with a licensed agent and find how you may qualify for a new health insurance plan.
800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. That's 800-479-0931. Paid for by the Health Insurance Hotline.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic rights and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
In my eyes, in this
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, big promises were made during the campaigns. Are we going to see some follow through?
Let's find out.
Yes, especially in Missouri, where we've got the legislative session coming up in less than 2 months. We are getting there.
Before you know it.
Yep. I'm joined now by Camellia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. And Camellia, I saw the headline. Governor Kehoe says he's going to announce his proposal to eliminate the state income tax. Now, we don't have the details unless you're privy to something that I'm not, and I don't know when he's going to be announcing that. But I like that there was a follow through, and he says, nope, we haven't forgotten. We're putting something forward. Do we know anything about the approach that he may want to take on this?
Good morning. Well, yeah, it's very good to see the governor continuing on his commitment to eliminating the income tax. And, from his remarks yesterday, I think that we can probably look for a plan that's very similar to what went through the legislature this last year. And because, when you talk about, he did mention that it will go to a vote of the people. And that there will be alternative, they'll be looking for alternative streams of revenue, I think, to, just spread that tax burden out. So I think that, a lot of it will be similar to what they worked through last year. I think that there was just more time needed to work through the details of that.
Good morning, Camellia. I was one of the lucky people who got to attend the AFP event a few months ago about this issue. And it was kind of an enthusiastic crowd. And I think that you're going to see a pretty good appetite for this. But what do you say to the naysayers and the ones who say, if we do away with the income tax, we're going to be, losing all that revenue, and how are we going to replace it, setting aside the fact that we should be looking at how we can just cut our expenses to begin with.
Right. Yes.
Yes. Well, and I think that's just it. Is that this does also have to be a combination of not just, redistributing the tax burden, but it also has to be budget cuts as well. And those are things that, everybody's been talking about that we are going to have to be looking at anyway, because we all know that, the COVID money is no more. And, that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah.
And, some of that federal spending is getting cut in the state. And, that is a positive thing, because Missouri needs to live within its budget, so to speak, right? Just like we do. And so we need to find ways to do that. But I think, the people that are pushing back on this, I would say that I would not expect there to be any perfect solutions, but I think that we find the best way to do this. And when you talk about how we do taxes in our state, we need to look at making sure that that is done fairly. And, there's not one class of people or one certain segment of people that are bearing that burden more than others. And, I think a lot of the things that we've heard some legislators talk about when we talk about kind of restructuring that a little bit is that if you can shift that to more of a consumption tax, that also allows us to shift some of that tax burden to people traveling through the state as opposed to on Missourians solely.
Yeah, that leads into what I was about to ask, because I was looking through, you called them the naysayers, I call it government first thinking. For a lot of these, they're saying, well, sales taxes are regressive. They hit the poor more than they hit the wealthy. That's the argument that they make in the first place. Why does it matter how we do the taxes when the goal is to lower the tax burden overall? Why does the method make a difference?
Sure. I mean, well, the income tax is probably the most insidious of all of the taxes that we have to deal with, because you don't have to pay it. It just comes out of your paycheck, and you're barely aware that the government is taking it from you, and they do it through your employer. So that whole setup is wrong to begin with. But when you do it in terms of like a sales tax, or what we would call a consumption tax, that gives you some choice in the matter. You can choose if you are going to pay more tax by buying more expensive things, or you can choose how much tax you pay by how much you spend. So this at least gives you more control over how much you're paying.
Camellia, the nice thing about having this discussion now is that it isn't just theoretical. We can see how doing away with the income tax works in other states nearby. Tennessee has gone great guns, and I know Glenn Jacobs was one of the speakers. He's the mayor of, I think, Knoxville,
Knox County,
Knox County. At that event, and obviously Tennessee has had great success with it. Other states have also had success. What's one of the strongest selling points when people are trying to see how this actually works in practice in terms of other states that have set examples?
So I think when you talk about growth, economic growth in the states who have eliminated or are very close to eliminating the income tax are experiencing much more growth than Missouri is. Missouri's been economically stagnant for quite a long time now. And I think that, we've made good progress in kind of chipping away at, reducing it down a little bit more, when we achieve a certain amount of growth. But when you look at tax models, and this gets way into the weeds, right? But when you look at tax models, if you try to reduce your tax rate just on the growth alone, it will take you a very long time. So you really need a comprehensive approach. You need to come at it in a lot of different ways so that you get the perfect storm, so to speak. But, when people are talking about, I can't tell you how many times we've heard this, when people are talking about where they are going to move, or whether or not they are going to stay in a state, one of the main things that you will hear them talk about is whether or not that state has an income tax. And I will say this, like, one of the things people will point out is that, if you reduce the income tax or eliminate the income tax, you're going to raise our property taxes. And the answer is no, we are not going to do that. So fortunately for Missouri, like, property taxes are locally voted on and assessed. So the state is not going to do that to compensate for the income tax.
We're visiting with Camellia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. Okay, so the governor said this would be something that goes to the voters. So is this, do we have any idea whether he's talking about a constitutional amendment to restructure taxes or whether he's thinking a referendum? Why not just work with the legislature and deal with the tax rates that way?
Because of the Hancock Amendment, anytime you, if you were to add, kind of broaden the tax base with the sales tax, because there are certain industries that are exempted that got carve-outs for themselves, several years ago in terms of sales tax. So if you were to spread that back out and make that more fair, because you would be putting a tax, again, on those entities, that anytime we do any kind of a tax change like that, it has to go to a vote of the people. That's in the Missouri Constitution. So that's why it has to go to a vote of the people.
And are there other measures or other avenues that you think this session is going to take a look at to kind of go hand in hand with that in terms of tax relief? I know we've talked about the property tax issue, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, property tax, I think, is going to still be a hot issue. It's probably, I know it sounds weird, but it's probably more difficult to get done than even the income tax. And that is because it is locally voted on and assessed. However, there are some things that can be done and should be done. And we are definitely pushing, along with eliminating the income tax, we need to start lowering the personal property tax as well. And get to the point where we can eliminate that too. In fact, I will say that in some of the income tax proposals that went through in this last session, part of the plan in those was that not only are you cutting the income tax, but you are also creating this fund that as revenue comes in and you have this savings, so that as you have growth from eliminating the income tax, you are putting that money towards other things like reducing the personal property tax, to where we can eventually grow our way out of that. But I think that will be a hot issue as well. We just did an event with Representative Richard West the other night about personal property, and he has had legislation that he filed last time and will file this next time, and so we will be pushing that and looking at that as well.
And of course, you can hear Richard West every weekend here on News Talk STL as he's co-host of St. Charles County Patriot Radio. Okay, so when you mentioned the COVID money, and I think that is a part of this that so many people forget, because there were warnings from fiscal conservatives over and over and over saying you're getting all of this influx of COVID money, but you're now setting new budget standards. You can't make this the norm. Otherwise, we're going to have to raise taxes to keep up with the spending. And even though Republicans control the legislature and control the government, there were just too many who didn't listen because they wanted access to all of that money. And you could even make a similar argument to the Medicare funds under the Obama administration that there was an argument over.
That's right. And I think that, one of the things, I say this about DESE, about Department of Education all the time, but I think it's true for most of our state agencies, is we don't really have a spending problem. We have a money management problem. And so, or I should say, we don't have a funding problem. We do have a spending problem. We have a money management problem, though. And so, when you talked about all that COVID money coming in, like, it's just been, 2-3 years ago where schools were flush with money. I mean, they had more money than they knew how to spend. And so what has happened to all of that? I think the same can be true, across all agencies, that as that COVID money came in, how did we spend that? And because it wasn't getting spent on the things that it was supposed to be getting spent on. But I think there are a lot of efficiency measures that need to be looked at too. One of the things that I'm looking forward to in this next session is really focusing more on some of the legislation that Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman had filed last time. And it specifically looked at the redundancies and the things in the system, whether it is property that the state owns that needs to be consolidated and sold, or things that were just really inefficiencies that, a lot of people don't look like, but all of those little things add up to the bottom line, and we need to be better at managing our money.
All right. And we keep track of all the events coming up for Americans for Prosperity, how and where.
You can find out what we're doing at aspmissouri.com, and there's an events page there. You can also see what all kinds of things that we're working on, and you can email your legislators and all kinds of good things.
All right. Thanks again, Camellia. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Camellia.
Now it's getting to that time of month right now, or this time of the week. It's
there you
Bump
go.
Day. It's also Get More Kafifi Day, apparently. in my
That
quarter.
it is.
But I need your flashback Friday 80s bump music request. This week's theme, we are going to be headbanging.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So
nice.
So we're going to have some fun with that. I've already got some requests. This has been long overdue. So Jerome at NewsTalkSTL with your favorite headbangers, and it doesn't have to be the heaviest, just something that gets your head rocking and rolling.
We had some awesome headbanging music in the 80s.
We did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
Mike Ferguson in the morning
We had somebody apply for unemployment for Tupac Shakur.
on Newstalk STL.
Won't you come? Won't you come?
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new Newstalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
NewsTalk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on NewsTalk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Dr. Draghi and his team at Esquire Sports Medicine get pros back on the field, so they can certainly help you. You need an MRI, X-ray, CAT scan, pre- or post-surgery treatment, rehab. The chiropractic physicians at Esquire can help you or connect you to experts you need. And I know you're hurting right now. You don't want to wait. Esquire sees new patients often within 24 hours. EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on Newstalk STL.
Speaking of some headbanger stuff.
There you go.
Good. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. We could be hours away from the shutdown officially being over, assuming there's no malfeasance that happens, which is never guaranteed, but it looks that way. Give you the update here in a second. I'm going to give you the basic details on this, and then I think maybe at 7:05 we'll go into more depth on this here. Missouri finds hundreds of truck drivers who can't speak or read English fluently. Hundreds. Yep. And the Blues had a good night last night. Give you some details on that. Yep. All right. 6:49 right now. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you again.
Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, very, very, very early this morning, the House Rules Committee voted to move the government reopening plan ahead to the full House.
8 yeas, 4 nays.
The ayes have it. The motion to report is agreed to.
Okay, so the Democrats still voting against reopening the government, but the end result is
The
determined.
end result is the same, but did you notice it was 8 yeas and 4 nays? That
Yeah.
means the Democrats bailed.
Right.
Like, because the committee is pretty evenly balanced
Yeah.
with just a slight edge to the majority.
Right,
So
like
if only
8-6 or 8-7
yeah,
or
if
something,
only
yeah.
4 Democrats voted no, the rest of them had already gone
Oh, my
home
goodness.
to go to bed.
All right, so the House is expected to vote later today to pass the bill, which President Trump says he will sign in. Basically, just bring it over, I'll sign it in within minutes or so. Okay, but that does not mean that all the problems created by the or exacerbated by the shutdown are going to be over right away. Of course, now we know that the Trump administration was already trying to modernize air traffic control even before all of this happened, but that's been complicated by how many air traffic controllers are retiring and just leaving, and also who haven't been showing up to work because they haven't been getting paid. You know, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tells Hannity on Fox one of the ways he's hoping to increase the number of controllers by basically retaining some who would have been pushed out because of old age. Apparently, this still
It's all
stays.
relative.
Yeah.
Congress has to increase that retirement age of 56. What I can do, though, is offer a waiver up to 62, from 56 to 62. I've offered any controller who's 56 and is willing to stay on the job, I'm offering them a waiver if they pass the medical.
I just feel attacked. I'm not 56 yet, but I feel attacked.
How do you think I feel?
Okay, on Tuesday alone, over 16,000 flights were delayed and 2,000 flights were canceled. And that's probably not going to stop like right away.
No,
They say,
it's
yeah.
going to take a while to unwind.
Yeah, there's going to be a massive ripple effect here. Okay, we're going to go into more depth on this here at 7:05, but Missouri officials have cited and pulled CDL licenses from almost 500 truck drivers. Those drivers failed English proficiency testing. In some cases, MissouriNet is reporting that the drivers were stopped by police and then not allowed to get back in the cab because the cop's like, you can't speak or read English. No, you're not going anywhere.
Now I wonder. Now I'm just thinking out loud. I'm like, I wonder how they knew. Like, were they just randomly checking in with truckers?
Yeah, there's a variety of ways. I mean, sometimes it's because of a violation, but truckers can be pulled over just to spot check.
Yeah.
Just to check the logs and check all that kind of stuff. So there's a variety of reasons. In some cases, MissouriNet's reporting that the trucking companies had to send other drivers out to get the truck and finish the drive. So English fluency requirements stopped being enforced in 2016 under the Obama administration.
Okay.
And they were brought back this year because of an executive order by President Trump.
Yeah, that's something that should be enforced. I mean, there's a good reason for that.
Well, we saw what happened. There was the one crash in Florida, but there was another one.
There was one out in California.
California,
too.
that's what it was. And what we're finding is a lot of these drivers are getting their licenses in places like California.
Yes.
Where, DEI or whatever the case is, but they're just very sympathetic. At one point, there were news reports that say that there was a truck driver, and they showed the image of the driver's license of a driver who could not speak or read English. Literally, the driver's license with his picture said no name given.
Yes.
Where there should be a name, it said no name given. And California issued a driver's license to a guy who couldn't even communicate his name. So now there's more to this as well, but we'll get into that, I think, around 7:05.
Sounds good.
Curious what people think about that.
Yeah.
Darren Bailey says he is staying in the race for governor in Illinois. The Republican made that announcement this week. As I'm sure you recall, Bailey's son, his daughter-in-law, and 2 of his grandchildren were killed in a helicopter crash last month. Now, I don't know when he's going to get back out on the campaign trail. I could not imagine trying to do a statewide campaign in the wake of such an unthinkable tragedy.
No, other than I think some people find that they actually find some comfort in channeling that energy into something that's kind of takes their mind off of it.
Right. Yeah, I would think so.
So sad.
Yeah. All right. Justice Department launching an investigation after violence broke out at a protest against Turning Point USA at the University of California, Berkeley. Yeah, we talked about the violence yesterday, I think it was. It happened Monday. We talked about it yesterday. And at this point, the Justice Department is blaming Antifa, and the Trump administration, of course, correctly designated Antifa a terrorist organization in September. On the Ingram Angle on Fox, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, says that they are going to dig deep in this investigation.
I also have concerns about UC Berkeley's history of not protecting conservative speakers on the campus. And I also have concerns, as the top civil rights lawyer in the United States, about whether the Berkeley police are doing their job under the law to protect citizens equally.
Well, and to back up what she's saying, it's not like this is the first time that there's been actual violence, because a conservative was allowed to speak on their campus.
No, there's unfortunately a long history of that. And I actually was seeing some reports that this attack, if you will, has been planned. It's been in the works for a long time. It wasn't just a spontaneous reaction, counter protest that got out of hand.
Yep, exactly. All right. In an interview with Laura Ingraham that aired on Fox this week, President Trump doubled down on his plan to issue 600,000 student visas for Chinese students to study at U.S. colleges and universities. The president defended his plan in part by saying it's a way to help keep higher education institutions financially solvent.
I have a suggestion for that.
Okay, what's that?
Get the government out of it.
Yes.
So that you're not, that's part of it. That's why the costs have gone insanely high, is because of government-backed loans.
Yeah, because if you walk up to an institution and say, what you do is so crucial, we're going to be in charge of the loans and we're going to make sure you get your money, not even going to worry about the details. You just provide this thing and we're going to make sure. As a matter of fact, we'll worry about collecting from them. Well, why wouldn't you raise the price and spend the money on all kinds of crazy stuff?
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
And we've seen it. We've seen it.
If you started a company that called it Susie's Widgets, and the government says, Susie, these widgets are so important, then there's such strong support for them, we're going to make sure that everybody can buy Susie's Widgets. Matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and front the money. We'll pay you, and then we'll worry about collecting from them. Why wouldn't you double, triple, or quadruple the prices?
I don't have an answer for that. There's no reason I wouldn't do that, because the money is coming in.
Right. And it's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed.
Yeah, precisely. So the reality is that there are some colleges and universities that need to go under.
Well, I mean, yeah, if they don't, if they aren't selling a product that people really actually want, and it has to be subsidized.
Yep. And I say that being married to an academic, you're
taking a risk there. But
actually, she's the first one to say.
I was going to say, I think Rachel would agree with that.
She actually does. Yeah,
she's a free market lady.
Oh, very much so. All right, the Blues get the win at home over the Flames. Final score at Enterprise was 3-2. Dylan Holloway and Matthew Kessel had goals in the first period. Yep. Nathan Walker added the third goal in the second period. Jordan Bennington, 38 saves.
Wow.
Now, that's the good news. That means they had 40 shots on goal.
That's a lot
of shots on goal. But he saved 38 of them.
Good
so
job,
Benny had a good night.
Yeah.
Because he's had a rough start to the season after last year he played so well. So hopefully this is him settling in there. Blues play again at home on Friday. The Philadelphia Flyers are going to be in town for that one. Yeah.
Let's go Blues.
Good night. Good night for him.
It's that time of year. Pumpkin spice in the air, flannel everywhere, and Hallmark movies playing nonstop. All that's missing? A mattress that feels like a warm hug. Black Friday sales are on at Snooze. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic Smart Base sets or melt into $600 off a Beauty Rest Black. We'll match it to your perfect bed with real Mayo Clinic pressure mapping, because your sleep deserves a love story too. Locally owned, comfort obsessed. Come find your happily ever after in mattress form. If you don't snooze, you lose.
Hi, Chris Arps here. Join me and the team at Royal Banks of Missouri for their annual Economic Forecast Breakfast. The event takes place on Tuesday, November 18th at the factory in the district of the Chesterfield Valley. You'll hear from their experts and get a better understanding of what to expect from the U.S. economy in 2026 and beyond. Doors open at 7:30 a.m. and the program starts at 8 a.m. Attendance is free, but you do need to reserve a spot. You can RSVP by calling 314-212-1595. That's Royal Banks of Missouri.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
I am an atheist. I really am a liberal, but I'm also a conservative.
No matter your side,
I'm a Democrat. I'm just a bit angry, frustrated conservative.
no matter your inclination,
I'm probably a liberal, maybe more in the middle.
we are here for your place to talk about it.
I'm the progressive liberal Democrat that you said is afraid to call you. St. Louis is number one for conservative talk. I'm sure we'll have a robust conversation.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. America's longest-running government shutdown could be over by this evening.
House lawmakers are returning to Capitol Hill for the first time since mid-September, and they'll be voting on the Senate-approved plan to fund and reopen the government. Most Democrats are expected to oppose the bill because it doesn't include an extension of health care subsidies they had demanded. With only a 2-vote margin, Republicans have little room for error and will need all GOP members back for the vote.
Correspondent Greg Clugston, even as the shutdown seems to be nearing its end, it continues taking a heavy toll on aviation, airline passengers, and air traffic controllers alike.
I will never travel again.
Marilyn Ross had it.
If I travel again, I will drive.
Airlines have canceled more than 9,000 flights since the FAA ordered a 10% reduction in air traffic to cope with short staffing in control towers, made worse by the government shutdown. Air traffic controllers went unpaid.
The air traffic controllers who didn't miss a day, they came for every scheduled shift that they had. They should get a bonus.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy echoing President Trump.
It'll be $10,000 depending on how many we have.
There is no timeline for when the flight cuts might ease. I'm Ben Tom.
The Justice Department is launching an investigation into what Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Amit Dillon calls mob violence at UC Berkeley. The campus unrest erupted on Monday outside a Turning Point USA event. Quoting Dillon, every American has a right to speak at and attend events without fear. Record low temperatures have shocked the Southeast while snow blankets parts of the Midwest and the Northeast, and winter doesn't officially arrive until next month. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 118 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. I've always been a strong believer in precious metals investment, and I've always been fascinated with rare coin collecting. But owning the wrong coins that only make dealers a lot of money can be catastrophic for your investment portfolio. AmFed Coin and Bullion specializes in taking people out of non-performing coin portfolios and turning them into gold, silver, or platinum bullion. They tailor a portfolio based on your goals and not what they want to sell you. You'll never experience scare tactics, misleading hype, or high-pressure sales from owner Nick Grovich and his very knowledgeable staff. They will evaluate your portfolio, show you how your coins have performed, and take the time to educate you on the ugly industry practices so that you can make an informed decision. Smart people can make very bad investments when they're under pressure and lack the facts. Call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures this morning going to be starting back out towards the 40-degree mark. We'll continue to see temperatures back towards mid-60s this afternoon, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures into Thursday look very similar, an increase in cloud cover than this upcoming weekend. Friday into Saturday, temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll cool down slightly into Sunday, a high of 63 degrees. And next week, some isolated chances of some showers. The first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Located in the heart of St. Charles, Kevin's Guns is your family-owned destination for all things firearms. Whether you're a collector, hunter, or military enthusiast, we have it or can get it for you. From new to used rifles and handguns in every style and caliber, our friendly and knowledgeable staff is here to help educate you and ensure you make the perfect choice for your needs. Buy, sell, or browse our incredible selection at kevinsguns.net or call 636-493-1195. Kevin's Guns, where gun enthusiasts come home.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Mike Ferguson,
What is that private pile? Sir, jelly donut, sir! A jelly donut?
Susie Moore,
Mama don't like tattletales.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, hundreds of truck drivers lose their licenses to work in Missouri because they can't speak or read English, or at least not fluently.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, and here's the funny part is I saw this, and it was almost just a side story posted by MissouriNet. I haven't seen it picked up in a bunch of other places. I'm really surprised that people aren't. Other news outlets aren't taking this. The headline is Missouri cites 494 commercial drivers for flunking English proficiency. Okay, we've seen the horrors around the country of what happens when these non-qualified foreign truckers have caused problems in other parts of the country. And I say, foreign truckers, but an American-born trucker who can't read or speak English can't drive either. They're not supposed to be driving either.
Right.
It's not where somebody's from. It's, are you able to be safe behind that wheel?
Well, let's dig into that a little bit, because I could see people going, well, why is that really such an issue? This is just people, kind of leaning into sort of xenophobic sentiment, blah, 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 blah. But there's a reason why, for instance, when you set aside even truck driving, when you go to take your driver's exam, you've got to be able to read the questions.
Right.
You've got to be able to understand them and answer them. You've got to be able to read the road signs and understand them, and not just a yield sign. I mean, street signs, those sorts of things. I mean, so there are safety reasons why people who are operating vehicles need to be able to read and understand the language of where they're driving.
So I actually worked as a loss prevention officer, aka security guard, for a logistics hub, which is where the trucks go to pick up their loads, drop their loads off, stuff like that nature. And this was back in 2015, before we found out that they stopped enforcing it. The amount of truck drivers that could not speak English coming through, it was like an open secret almost. And it's not just about the signs on the road. We have to give them commands when it's okay to come in through the gate, when to back up. We have to have they're called yard dogs, but they actually give you directions on where to go. So if you can't speak English, we can't say, hey, stop. There's, you're not understanding what's going on. We've had guards get crushed and killed by truck drivers because they could not understand the actual what's being issued to them as an order.
There was that viral video a couple of weeks ago of the guy that was driving the wrong way on the highway, and the guy was like, but the other thing too is if they're not enforcing that safety rule, or just rule in general in terms of driver eligibility qualifications, what other rules aren't they enforcing?
Right. Yeah. Now here's the other, I mentioned earlier, I said that there's actually another side of this, and somebody's going to argue, we have a shortage of truck drivers. We don't have enough people who are qualified to get your stuff from point A to point B.
We don't have the talent. Yeah. Sorry.
I see what you did there. Yeah. But that's one of the things that is objectively true, is that they're having trouble retaining or attracting and retaining truck drivers. And so these companies are like, we got to have people drive this stuff. And so there is a challenge to overcome that. But here's the thing. Yes, that affects the prices of the stuff that I'm going to buy, that you're going to buy.
Sure.
But that's also a 20, 30 ton vehicle moving 50, 60, 70 miles an hour down the road that is deadly to anybody if it's not operated in a controlled, safe manner. And so the Highway Patrol is right. And the MissouriNet article says that there are times when officers would stop somebody, they cannot communicate at all with that driver, And they say, no, you're not getting back in that truck.
Right.
And they had to call the trucking company and they had to send out another driver to pick it up because they're like, this guy can't do it.
One of the things I'm going to call back to my legal career again on this issue, because over the years, I handled so many different trucking accident cases. And, trucking accidents are going to happen. It's just the law of statistics, no matter whether the drivers are properly qualified or not. Presumably, if they are properly qualified and following the rules, you're going to minimize the likelihood of that. But over and over again, the issues that would arise would be, logbooks that weren't being kept properly, like little, what you might even consider like administrative or ticky-tack things, but they're there for a reason. Governors, trucks are supposed to have speed governors on them, and some didn't. And, when you're trying to defend a trucking company and they're not playing by the rules of safety, that's a very tough thing to be defending.
At that point, you're just negotiating the damage.
Well, yes. And I will say that, a lot of those cases do settle. But I mean, there's reasons for these regulations. I know that we often knock regulations and rules and that sort of thing, but there's reasons, particularly in this industry, why there are these regulations and rules, and it is to make it as safe as possible. And if the companies aren't abiding by that and the drivers aren't abiding by that, do you really want to be barreling down the road at 60, 70 miles an hour with them all around you?
But here's the other part of this is that in the article, they point out that it wasn't even just the companies not abiding by it. It was the government not abiding by it, because they were cited in this article. Once again, it's on MissouriNet. Missouri cites 494 commercial drivers for flunking English proficiency. And they said that basically stopped being enforced. The English requirements stopped being enforced in 2016. Now, remember, 2016, Barack Obama's president.
Yeah.
So this is the Obama administration basically saying, we're not enforcing that. So no, don't worry about it. And so up until this Trump administration, that was not brought back up as a requirement. So good on President Trump for saying, no, we're going to bring that back. We're going to enforce what's already on the books. But there was some sort of moratorium on enforcing it.
Well, and also you obviously have states issuing these CDL licenses without ensuring that the people taking the exams are actually capable of doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So yes, there's a commercial, there's a business, there's an economic interest here, and keeping those trucks moving. We've all had near misses with trucks. I've been run off the road, a couple times by truckers who are not paying attention. Most of the time, the truckers are doing things right. Vast majority of the time. So, we've all been stuck behind them on the highway and can't get around. And okay, whatever. We have to have those trucks rolling on the highways. We have to have them. But we have to have it done in a way that minimizes the risk to the rest of us. And this is such a common sense thing that has nothing to do with xenophobia, racism, or anything like that. This is saying you are operating heavy machinery. You need to know what's around you. You need to be able to navigate the environment.
Absolutely. Can I tell a funny story?
Please do.
When my daughter turned 15, got her driving permit. Not long after that, she and her friend wanted to go to Columbia to visit another friend of theirs. And so I said, okay, I'll go down there with you. I made my daughter drive. On 70 between St. Charles and Columbia.
All right.
So she's 15. I was a little white knuckly there, but I made her do it because I knew she was going to go to Mizzou. Yeah. And the whole time she's driving, she's like, Mom, the trucks. I was like, get used to it, honey. This is Highway 70.
Now, you know what's really, really bad? Now on 70, well, maybe they may be done by now, but gosh, was it early? It was this past spring. They were still doing all that construction just east of Columbia. The big barricades up, and I-70, because they're adding lanes. I-70 had those big, whatever you call those barriers on the highway. They were squeezed. Those were two really small lanes. Narrow. And I got caught a couple times, like surrounded by trucks in that little. I was white knuckling, and I've driven I-70, I'm sure, thousands of times.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that was like,
wish I had whiskers on my car.
Oh yeah. 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 But most of the time the guys behind, and I guess women too, but mostly guys behind the wheel of the trucks,
most of them,
they're probably the best drivers out there.
Yeah.
So don't besmirch them by allowing people who can't read the damn road signs to be able to cause problems.
Well, anyone who's not able to pass the qualification and has to be helped or cheated to get that, to be able to qualify for it, doesn't belong behind the wheel.
Right. And you're not supposed to, the rules prohibit using any sort of translation device to pass the test. Now, that's what the rules are. Clearly, there are people who have licenses who either they weren't given the test, or they were just allowed to bypass it, or they were allowed to use some help, because there are now almost 500 in Missouri alone who have lost the ability to drive.
Well, good.
Yeah. I mean, that's proactive. Taking some trucks off the road, that's not good, but I would rather have that than somebody barreling through and causing the things we've heard about in California and Florida and these other places.
Absolutely. There's a deepfake scandal that targeted a girl. And when she lashed out at the boy who did it, she got expelled from school. So we are going to give you the rest of the details on that at 7:20.
It is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my to fight your war.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself, unless you suck.
On News Talk STL.
Indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
What are you doing for lunch? Not you guys. The people listening, the radio listeners. What are you guys doing for lunch? Are you trying to make your plans, figure it out? Well, I have an idea for you. Check out Harpo's Chesterfield. It's in the heart of West County. It's been there for more than 20 years. It is the go-to neighborhood bar. It's a go-to sports bar for you. It's got a great sports bar atmosphere. It's got great drinks, great food, great fun. It's got a fun, energetic staff. They've got daily food and drink specials, as well as happy hour specials. And I think on Wednesdays their special is like a 10-ounce strip steak with 2 sides for like $15. So can't really beat that. Not only that, as I said, they've got great food. I am partial to the burgers there. That's what I get every time I go. But they've got all kinds of great food on their menu. You need to go check it out. They deliver fun food and drinks. And if you want to find out what's going on, what their specials are, you can check them out. You can check them out on their Facebook page. You can check them out on Instagram or at harbosstl.com. Just a couple weeks ago, they had their big Halloween party. Yesterday, in honor of Veterans Day, they gave veterans a free pint of beer. So they've got all kinds of specials there. You got to go check them out. Harpo's Chesterfield. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, or at harbosstl.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
He served his country. The FBI raided his family farm and charged him with being a leader of the Oath Keepers and storming the Capitol. His name is Navy Lieutenant Commander Thomas E. Caldwell, and he joins us at 9:05 on Wednesday.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Brian Pichelle. He is the executive director of Dogs for Our Brave.
I've been very blessed to have incredible support in my life as I battled through my journey of coming back from Iraq and dealing with, PTSD and everything I saw and witnessed as a medic. Not all veterans have that type of support. And ultimately, that's why I say we are a gift of love. We are a gift. We want to be that beacon of hope.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this dysfunctional radio station. It's The Right Mind Show with me, Todd Showalter, at 5 on Saturday. And, you know, speaking of dysfunctional, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, this is a parent's nightmare type of story. And the way the school district responded to some of the fallouts, they're catching a lot of grief for this. Crazy story. But this is the type of stuff we're going to deal with more and more and more as AI gets better and better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a middle school girl is expelled after she punched a kid on a school bus. And you're like, oh, okay, well, sure, yeah, you can't. Well, there's a lot more to that. A lot more to that story. So this, I found this story on WAFB's website, which is somewhere in Louisiana, in Lafourche Parish. They say parish instead of county down there. But so here's what happened. A 13-year-old student was expelled from her middle school after she punched a male classmate. But here's the thing. That male classmate took a picture of her, created an AI deep fake of her, creating a fake picture of her nude, and then was sending it all over the school. It wasn't her, but it looked like her because the deep fakes are so good now.
Right.
That even these young teenagers are able to do that. And apparently the parents, according to the lawyer, they've been going to the school saying, stop this. He's like right here at the school doing this thing. And she saw him on the bus sending that deep fake out again. And she lashed out at him and smacked him, and they expelled her. Now the police have already said, yeah, we're not charging her with anything. Now they're like letting her back in on probation, but they're like, we gotta can't have the violence. Listen, if I'm her parent, I'm not punishing her at all.
No. I know we're probably not privy to this information, and this would be important information to know. And that is whether there are is there any punishment being meted out to this boy? Because there needs to be.
Yeah.
First of all, what he's doing is illegal.
Right. So, and the police, they say we are investigating, but because it's digital, it's going to take weeks or months to get all of the footprints and all that information. Like, this is going to take a while.
I think that because it obviously is involved in this school, that there should be some punishment at the school as well. I also think, reacting violently, even if you understand, I can totally understand why she did, but that's not the answer. So there should be some repercussion for that, because the answer is to handle it through the proper channels. But I understand her frustration, and I think maybe expelling her might be too extreme. And I know, we get into this situation with the zero tolerance policies that don't take into account the nuances of different situations.
So according to this article here, their attorney said school leaders at 6th Ward Middle School failed to address the girl's complaints about the circulating image.
That's a problem.
Yeah, despite her reporting it to the school.
Okay, that's a big problem.
Right. And the attorney says the school board's actions in this case are reprehensible. My client's daughter was begging them all day to put a stop to this. Not only did they not put a stop to it, they put her on the bus with the perpetrator.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's also a lawsuit. Hi.
Yes, it is. And the article says when the girl saw the photo being shared again on the school bus, she hit the boy she said was responsible for creating it, and she was then later expelled, which they're now kind of backtracking on.
Yeah, I could see maybe doing like a suspension or in-school suspension just to send the message that don't resort to violence to solve your problem. But the school needs to pay up for that.
Yeah, and here's the thing is with the and I know that a lot of schools feel like they're in charge of your kids and have some reach outside of school hours. I don't think they do. But this all happened on school property and on hours.
Yeah.
That's why it's there. But the technology is so easy. Nick Schroer taught me a new trick the other day, how to use like the Grok AI to do videos and stuff. And so which is kind of fun. And I was playing around with it. I got a picture of a toddler. And I said, okay, make this child dance. And it made break dancing. It was really funny. And I'm thinking, but it looks so real. It's so thing. And we've known for a while that this kind of technology, with all the good stuff that can happen with it, it's not even a matter of if, it was a matter of when people start doing this sort of thing with it. And it could happen to any of us.
Oh, yeah.
It could happen to any of our daughters. It could happen to my wife. It could happen to a girlfriend. It could happen to anybody. And at this point, this girl probably felt there's no defense. She had to do something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, clearly she's tried to go to the proper authorities
Right.
at the school, and they did nothing. And at some point, when the system fails you, you have to stick up for yourself. Corporeal Being even pointed out, like, I would give her MMA training so she can hit harder next time.
Yeah.
But Kathleen makes an interesting point. He says that they need to be in jail. So when I was in high school, even if it was a consensual boyfriend girlfriend taking naughty photos of each other themselves, sending it, that was considered child sexual abuse material.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
that's
yeah,
illegal.
if you're underage, yeah, it's illegal. No matter it can be consensual, but if it's a minor,
It's still considered.
Still, yeah.
Yeah. And so when it comes to this specific thing, there are laws that I'm aware of. I don't know how it applies blankly to the nation, but there are laws regarding even AI generated or cartoon pictures of that sort of material. So is it time to start treating AI? Because there's clearly a bullying aspect of this. But even without that, should we regulate AI generated images to the same level that we would treat the real actual image?
That's a really good point. Yeah. Let's say he had an actual picture of her. She's 13 and, a nude picture of her. That distributing that was a big scandal for her. That would be illegal, child pornography, that sort of thing. So does the fact that he created the nude aspect of it with AI alter that? It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
You're still exploiting that person.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm hoping that legally the authorities can actually enforce some repercussions. And again, I understand why she did what she did. I don't fault her for it. I do think I understand the value of having there be some consequence for resorting to violence because you don't want to encourage that. But the kid that did this needs to be punished.
well, he needs to have. I mean,
He should be the one expelled.
he should be one expelled and probably facing criminal charges.
And where is his parents?
Right.
What would you do if your kid?
Thing that's electric.
Oh.
This is probably life. But get this from this article at WAFB. During talking about the school board meeting where apparently people showed up and they were outraged once the news got out. During the meaning school board meeting, speakers described how the girl tried to contact her father during the day, but was told by school officials that parents did not need to be involved.
Well, I'm glad she's got a lawyer.
Yep.
Because I think they should sue the pants off that school district.
Yeah, they should. They really should.
And I know it's Louisiana and they've got weird laws, but they should still be.
Yeah, because they're based on the French laws, not
Yeah,
the English
I know. It's like,
laws.
yeah.
You basically, if you're going to get charged with the crime, don't do it in Louisiana because you're guilty until proven innocent. Basically, because of the history of that state and their French laws out there. But in this case here, they said they are going to file a federal lawsuit against the La Fourche Parish School District. That's going to be coming.
Good.
The school district itself put out the basic statement. The La Fourche, I'm probably saying this wrong. The La Fourche Parish School District school board is dedicated to a mission centered on providing a safe, healthy, and nurturing learning environment for all students. And this mission is reflected in values that prioritize the well-being and success of every child. That's what they say, at least. Our commitment to safety, we understand public's interest in the matter, but we can't talk about it because of the family educational rights and privacy law.
Which is actually true. They can't.
Yeah. It says, unfortunately, in this case, there's a tremendous amount of misinformation and omissions of fact that present a one-sided story that fails to illustrate the totality and complex nature of this particular incident. The district's response, we never have and never will steer from our mission of ensuring a safe and healthy learning environment. So the local sheriff down there says one student's been charged with 10 counts of unlawful dissemination of images created by artificial intelligence.
Well, we can assume it was the student that got punched. Good.
Yeah.
It needs to be.
Yeah, exactly. So the school district's like, well, there's more to the story, but the law enforcement says, we've charged at least 10 times this kid has sent this image out.
Yeah.
Or a kid has sent
more to the story, my foot.
Right. Right. But here's the thing. Okay, so last couple minutes that we've got, my kids are both in their late 20s now. So I mean, you always worry about something like this happening, but I can only imagine if Amber were still in high school and somebody were to create something like this, and then she would have to deal with that. That is a nightmare for her, for her family, because once those things hit the internet, they don't go away. They're forever.
Yeah. So
the stakes are really, really high. So how do we regulate without infringing on the First Amendment rights of people? There's got to be some guardrails on this. But the technology is so easy to do this. And in this case here, which has probably happened hundreds or thousands of times over somewhere else already. So
yeah, this kid didn't invent this.
No. So is there a way to get out in front of it? Because I imagine a lot of people are like, I'm scared, but there's nothing I can do. They're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Well, the way to get out in front of it is to have policies in place, for instance, in the schools that clearly set forth any kind of behavior like this is going to start using their smart devices for. And I'm, you know what, glass house here. I mean, my daughter's 23. She had a smartphone from probably 12 or 13 on. Before that, it was just a little flip phone, so I could communicate with her. But I monitored some, but probably not as much as I should have. Thankfully, we didn't have anything big happen because of it. It's hard to do. Yeah. Parenting is hard.
Yeah.
But, you do need to be aware of what your kids are doing with their devices, with their computers, and you need to kind of have regular conversations with them about this stuff.
Now, let's assume that the boy who did this, since they were on the same bus at the same school, he's 13, 14, something like that. So is he going to have any real consequences for this?
I mean, there are consequences for juveniles. I mean, they what ends up happening is their records get sealed. They don't follow them into adulthood. But yeah, I mean, he may spend some time incarcerated, or he should be expelled from the school.
Yeah.
And I would really like to know what those parents have to say in defense of their son.
Yeah, there is no defense of it.
No, you're already treating women like that at such a young age. This is not a behavior that self-corrects if you get away with thinking that's okay, which is why getting smacked to the face sometimes sets you straight. What else can help out, though, and what is a more productive use of your phone, is to put these coordinates into your GPS, because we are having a food drive partnered with the St. Louis County GOP. So you can go on our website, newstalkstl.com/food drive, and you can figure out all of the fun and amazing locations that are partnering with us, so you can drop off some food and help some hungry folks.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures this morning going to be starting back out towards the 40-degree mark. We'll continue to see temperatures back towards mid-60s this afternoon, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures into Thursday look very similar, an increase in cloud cover than this upcoming weekend. Friday into Saturday, temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll cool down slightly into Sunday, a high of 63 degrees, and next week some isolated chances of some showers. The first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIGlobal.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Two pitchers for the MLB Cleveland Guardians are accused of taking bribes to rig pitches. Allegedly, they won hundreds of thousands of dollars. They say, no way. One of them say, I have a $700,000 contract. You know, gamblers are strange and make some strange prop bets on anything. Give you an instance. A fly lands on a table, and suddenly you got 5 guys betting $100 each as to which way the fly is going to take off. Silly, you say? Yeah. But, of course, if you get the fly early, and you clip a section of the fly's wing, it might change the liftoff. These MLB players were sometimes making prop bets on how many pitches would be above 80, how many pitches would be in the dirt. Pete Rose is the major name in baseball tied to betting, but no proof he ever bet against his own team. Yet for all of that, he got banned in 1989, and Hustle was up for the Hall of Fame. Charlie Hustle was not going to get in until recently. This last September, they said, yeah, he can come in. Well, he died at age 83. Will Rose still get in? What are the odds? And if he does get into the Hall of Fame, what are the odds Charlie Hustle will come out of the grave? Oh, you think that's slim to none? There's someone waiting to take that bet.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Dr. Randy Tobler here, and I know that when you're looking for a dentist, you have to make sure you choose a dental practice that's compatible with you and the needs of your family. Well, I'd like to tell you about my dentist, Dr. Dan Cusimano, and his partner, Megan Dwyer, and their team at Advanced Dentistry at St. Charles. The great team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles can accommodate all of your cosmetic and restorative needs because their passion is general dentistry. Implants, crowns, bridges, even dentures. That what you need the most is what they'll provide in a personalized, focused way. And they can provide therapeutic and cosmetic options like Botox and dermal fillers. Get to know them and all they have to offer by calling 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
That's Advanced Dentistry Now, 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, I want to give everybody kind of another swing at this one because boy, hour and a half ago or so, got a lot of response from this.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people obviously who are with the show now that maybe weren't at 620 or whatever.
Sure.
Why would we want to import hundreds of thousands of communists into the United States? Now that's a really cold-hearted way to put it.
It is.
And there's more complexity to it than that. But bottom line, that's not an inaccurate statement, even if it doesn't cover all the complexities of it.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. So President Trump doubling down on his plan to issue 600,000 student visas to Chinese students. Not 600,000 for foreign. I don't know what the total number is going to be, but 600,000 to Chinese students. All right. So he was asked about this. He did a sit-down interview with Laura Ingraham that aired on Fox either last night or the night before. Last night, yeah. And I tell you, I don't always admire Laura Ingraham's work. Let me put it that way. But I got to give her credit. She was sticking to the questions and following up and really asking fair but difficult questions.
This was a legit interview.
Yeah, I got to give her credit for that. So here's the part that's got a lot of people, particularly in the conservative movement, but many in the MAGA movement, really questioning things right now. Here's what happened.
You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans?
You would have the
fans of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges and universities.
So we're dependent on China to keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have. I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
I mean, really? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. We've had a lot of problems with the French where we get taxed very unfairly on our technology where, they put 25% taxes on American products. Look, assuming everyone treats us badly, because that's the way I am, but we take in trillions of dollars from students. The students pay more than double when they come in from most foreign countries.
Okay, so first of all, I don't know that a lot of college or I don't know that a lot of Chinese students are going to historically black colleges and
I
universities.
really don't. I would like to see the statistics on
Yeah,
that because I'm skeptical.
exactly. And the one part that the president said, which is 100% correct, is that the students from China and many other parts of the world, they do pay more.
That's true.
And they pay up front.
Yes.
They pay cash. So it is a cash cow for these universities.
Yeah.
And of course, have you ever met a college or university that has ever said, oh, we're good on money, we're fine? They always whine about money.
Just thought bubble.
Yeah.
So if that's obviously a financial incentive for the universities
Right.
to welcome them. I guess the government has to okay it since they are coming in from a foreign
Right.
country. I was thinking like, why is the government involved in it at all? Because that's a financial transaction for the university. But I understand
Right.
the need for student visas. Okay,
Yeah.
I answered my own question.
Yeah. So the universities, which we know, higher education right now is not going exactly in a pro-America direction.
No.
The academy is not exactly pro-America. Okay. Overall, there are bright spots here and there, but overall, you have a higher education system that is not excited about our foundations and what the country should be. But yeah, they want the money. Honestly, they're probably sympathetic to the Chinese way of thinking, the CCP way of thinking. But in this case here, how do you react if you're MAGA? You want to support the president, but he says, let's bring in 600,000 communists, basically.
So 101 says, I'm not at all on board with Trump regarding this issue. He's looking at the financial bottom line more than he's looking at the national security
Right.
standpoint of it. And I agree entirely with that.
I think you react the way you would as to anything. I mean, he's not going to bat 1,000. I don't have to agree with him on everything. I voted for him. I'm fine with having voted for him. I like most of his agenda, but it doesn't mean I like everything he says and does. And this is one of the things I don't like.
Yeah. So where do we now? It's gonna be interesting to see if there's enough pushback to where he would alter any of this. But I've got a feeling that this might be part of some sort of deal that was made.
Oh, I absolutely think that. He and Xi just met. I absolutely think this was part of the discussions going on behind the scenes. But why they think it's worth the potential risks that carries with it when we know, we're not directly at war with China, but they are an adversary.
Yes, they are not our friends.
They floated a spy balloon across the country. They're buying up the farmland. There's all kinds of issues with Chinese spying. And we know for a fact, because of the way their system operates, that if they're going to send somebody over here to get educated, there's probably stipulations and strings that go along with it. So why are we just opening ourselves up to that?
We've also discovered CCP like monitoring pseudo police stations in the United States, surveilling and tracking Chinese citizens in the U.S. to make sure they're remaining loyal to the CCP.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
By the way, speaking of the land, did you see the news that broke this week in Missouri? Whiteman Air Force Base in Knob Noster, the land literally that goes up to the Air Force Base property is Chinese owned.
I did see that. We covered that at Red State.
Yep. Literally owned by a Chinese ownership. And it's the farmland that goes literally up to the fence where the stealth bomber is housed. Now,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And I think that President Trump needs to sit down with his advisors.
Yeah.
And if he's going to push this issue because there is some benefit that hasn't been clearly defined for us, they need to make clear what that benefit is, because this is not a good idea. I don't think.
China wants these kids back to work against us. So we're literally equipping a hostile country to work against us. The next round of warfare isn't going to be led with missiles and bullets. It's going to be led digitally and cyber.
Now, playing Scooter's advocate real quick. So he says, I would bet Chinese students who come here are less likely to be communists by the time that they receive their degree. Multiculturalism has a lot of benefits. So I don't necessarily, I know enough about the CCP that I think that that's wishful thinking, but realistically speaking, is there a benefit to trying to Americanize them so when they go back, then they sort of, we send our culture back with them to China? Is that an actual realistic possibility?
I think conceptually that's a fine idea, but they have such a lockdown on their people. And I think we should be exposed to as many other cultures as we can. I mean, my children are biracial. Their mother is from the Philippines. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think that you have to be selective on who you want to influence us.
Yeah, and I also think you have to be mindful of the countries of origin in terms of what our relationship is with them and whether we can be, relatively assured that they're just engaging in this cultural exchange versus sending out spies.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that China's never going to be our friends. Even if they're friendly, that's when we should be the most suspicious. This is a communist nation that wants basically to grow its influence throughout the world. And so what's happening is we are equipping their future technology leaders to work against us.
I don't think that's a good idea.
It's a bad idea.
It is a bad idea. Friday isn't just Friday. It's Flashback Friday.
Heck yeah.
Woo, yeah. So you got to be sure to get your 80s bump music requests into Jerome as soon as possible so that we can rock out on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
You're trolling folks and trying to find migrants to play political games.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next-door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long have you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
I'm just a step away, I'm just a breath away, losing my faith today. Falling off the edge today. I am just a man, not superhuman. I'm not superhuman. Someone save me from the haze. It's just another one.
Hey, this is Carl Higbee, host of Frontline on Newsmax TV, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, be thinking about this here in a second.
Thinking.
Which hobbies attract super pretentious people? The hobbies.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That people tend to gravitate towards these hobbies. They tend to be very pretentious, either about them or it just attracts them.
Okay.
Some BuzzFeed started an argument over this.
Okay.
I think some of the inclusions on this list I think are wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll do that. All right, it's 7:48 here, but we got some thoughts on the Chinese student situation here, right?
Yeah, our friend Scott has a couple of thoughts on the Chinese student
Okay,
situation.
Scott, you're up. You're on NewsTalk STL. What do you think?
Well, first, I'm on my way to my polo pony lesson, so I'll make it quick.
Yes, that's right. You need to check out BuzzFeed, I'm saying.
No, the Chinese, I think, is problematic. I think part of what Trump is doing is sending up a trial balloon to see how people are going to react. And, honestly, you don't want to paint with a brush. folks, but you never, there isn't a Japanese town in New York where they make counterfeit goods. It's Chinatown. And I think their mindset is less scrupulous than most people. Trump should just put forth a huge bonus to attract American talent because that's where everything comes from. The Chinese may copy it, but they don't have the brain power to initiate it. The other thing is about signing the government closure. I think they should put a thumb in the eye of the Democrats. They should say Trump is going to be golfing, but he's going to use the auto pen.
Well, I would never underestimate the brain power of the Chinese.
No.
Let me be careful.
No,
on
but
that.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Exactly. Hey, Steve, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. So appreciate you being on the show. Yep.
Thanks.
All right. 7:50 right now. All right. Let's have a little fun here. So BuzzFeed, somebody decided to ask on BuzzFeed, what are hobbies that seem to attract super pretentious people?
Well, he did suggest polo.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
That's good. That could be one.
Corporeal Being says that yachting and sailing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretentious people.
Yeah. So list of hobbies that seem to attract deeply pretentious people, according to BuzzFeed. Let's see here. They've got a list of like 13 of them here that we said. Well, what would jump out at your head? Like the people who do this, it's like, oh, shut up.
Now, I want to be careful how I say this because I happen to love wine, but like wine tasting, like to the point of
number 6 on the list.
Okay. I mean, because there's people that enjoy wine and then there's people that sit there and swirl the glass and spit it out and do the whole thing like they're trying to impress you with their, wine tasting.
It's not that they enjoy stuff. It's not that they enjoy the wine. It's that they are so much more knowledgeable than you. And how do you not know this?
Correct.
Yeah. So wine tasting is number 6 on
There's
the list.
craft beer snobs too. Just saying.
They're totally. They just can't afford the wine. So they've got to be snobby about the beer. Yeah. Oh, when the whole craft, homebrew craft thing. Oh, it got ridiculous for a while.
I actually know somebody who is a wine collection broker.
Oh, okay.
Not a sommelier. She basically manages vast wine collections for very well-to-do people.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about wine snob?
Oh, wow.
But she's fun to go to dinner with.
Political talk podcasters, not radio hosts.
Oh.
The people that go and they make all these videos and recordings of their political thoughts and how profound they are and how intelligent they are. And it's like, you're not citing any sources. And half the time you're wrong.
Yeah. There is some pretension there.
Now, here's what's interesting. 101 Straight Up on Rumble says, let's see here. Pretty much every high-end watch collector that I've known has been pretty insufferable.
Yes.
Luxury watch collecting is number 9 on the list.
Oh, nailed it.
That should be higher.
Yeah. See, I've run into a couple of people who, collect those things. I don't like wearing jewelry to start with. I just don't like the way it feels. So I've got a watch. I just never wear it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's pretty nice. It was a gift. I mean, it's in the box still, but it's nice. I couldn't tell you who made it, but, okay. So how about this one? Some of these others here. Number 1, cycling.
Okay. So I did triathlons for a while.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did.
I did not know
That's why
that.
I was so skinny in that picture I showed you. No, I did. And that, of course, involves cycling.
Yes.
Now, I was never hardcore into it, but yeah, that's spot
okay.
on.
So, yeah, here's the thing is, listen, some of y'all cyclists are very courteous and, good on you. You're exercising, you're getting out at 7 a.m. on Saturday throughout University City or Clayton or whatever. Okay. Some of y'all are just a-holes. I mean, some of y'all are just jerks, and you get mad at people for wanting to drive on the roads because it's like, once the bicycle's on, that belongs to us, and so some of y'all, you bring this on yourself. So I think
cannot disagree.
Allison says firearms. Now I want to just point out firearms are my hobby and I don't appreciate that. Allison.
Okay. But there are people though, to her point, and I am as unapologetically 2A as you're ever. I would be like considered completely radical on this.
Yes.
But there are some people who like they're just itching to tell you about their guns, and they can't wait for somebody to try them.
Can I point out that our friend Ward Clark, Alaska Man, has a regular VIP column on Sundays on Red State called Sunday Gun Day, and Ward is a gun nerd. Like, he goes into the nitty gritty. So it's not probably for Allison, but it's probably great for people that are really into like gun collecting.
Why did you wait so long to tell me about
That's
that?
right.
Now I know what to do on my Sundays.
Yes,
There you go.
Sunday at I think it's 11 o'clock our time, or maybe 10 o'clock our time is when that column publishes.
Because you can be overbearing about anything that you're passionate about, but I mean, again, I've got a few guns. I don't have a lot. I have enough to protect myself and my family if something bad happens. But you know, the bottom line is I'm not like ready to be overbearing to everybody. And there are like people like, if you're not a gun person, they look down on you.
Oh, yeah.
There are some within our midst who need to chill out a little bit.
That's not Ward, but he does know his guns.
Oh, yeah.
What else is on the list?
Number 2, meditation.
That's ironic.
Yeah. It says one of the comments, you wouldn't believe how narcissistic people get when they first start a spiritual practice.
Well, that's true of new converts to almost any belief system. But okay. Yeah. I guess, I don't know how that's number 2.
Yeah, no, Ryan meditates, and he's from nutrition.
Yeah,
shop,
yeah,
and
yeah.
He's a cool dude, but I mean, the point of a lot of meditation is to get to know yourself. And if you just so happen to realize, wow, I like myself a lot better than I thought I did, is that really pretentious?
Yeah,
or is that the entire point of
I'm
meditation?
questioning that one because I would also, let me expand this a little bit into like some of the yoga people.
I think it's the evangelizing about it, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what they're referring to is basically some people, you know, going overboard with it. Because Ryan does not do that.
No.
You know, he's like,
No.
this is part of my health life. And okay, now number 3, I kind of get it because I used to really be into this disc golf.
Yes.
I used to love disc golf. I really enjoyed that. Used to play in college all the time. But look at the look on his face.
I've been spared that. I haven't run into any of the disc golf pretentious folk, thankfully.
It's just throwing frisbees at cages. I don't care what the balance and the weight and the dimensions of your little disc is. It's playing frisbee with friends. That's all it is.
Yeah, the comment here was, calm down, bro. You're throwing a frisbee into the woods. It can't be that serious.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
But it is kind of a fun hobby, but just look at it for what it is.
But
you know. Oh, goodness. Let's see here. Now, I did not get, I don't understand number 5 here. Because I know a lot of people that do this, and I've never met a pretentious one yet, and that is pickleball. I mean, I know a lot of people.
My sister's obsessed with it.
I know I got a couple friends too, but
she's competitive.
Yeah, but
pretentious.
Yeah, I've never met a pickleballer who's pretentious. I've had a lot of people say, you got to try this, Mike. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but that to me is not pretentious.
There's a difference between enthusiasm and pretension.
I've met a lot of enthusiastic pickleballers, but I've never met a pretentious one.
Yeah, I think that's just hating to hate, because the pickleballers that I've met, it's almost like, hey, you know, you're not as athletic to do tennis or something, but you can come pickleball with us. It's more of an inclusive sort of thing. I don't think that's pretentious.
I also appreciate that because of the pickleball craze, there are now comfy skirts that you can buy pretty much anywhere that are great for summer wear, even if you're not a pickleballer.
There you go. Number 7 was CrossFit. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. It's like the old joke. How do you know if somebody does CrossFit? Don't worry. They'll tell you. Let's see here. Somebody mentioned horses, equestrian on there. Number 13, charcuterie board aficionados.
I love me a good charcuterie board, but I don't know about like, I don't know. People can go overboard with it for sure.
They can. And the quote here that came with it was, boss, it's an adult Lunchable. Get over yourself and pass the Swiss.
So after I get done with my horses and I'm done cycling, I'll have my charcuterie board in my winery, and none of y'all are invited.
Okay.
Snob.
I know. Okay, snob.
This December 13th, join Wreaths Across America at Belle Reve Gardens Cemetery as we remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach our children the value of freedom. Help us lay remembrance wreaths on the graves of our fallen heroes. Sponsor a wreath, volunteer, or bring your family to this meaningful tribute to our veterans, because every hero deserves to be remembered. Learn more and sponsor a wreath. Visit NewsTalkSTL.com.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
News, analysis, opinion.
Democrats have voted 14 times now to prolong all this pain on the American people.
So Nancy Pelosi's long march to the left is over, and she's leaving the Democratic Party with Comrade Mamdani as its face.
Thank you to those so often forgotten who made this movement their own.
The people who love Mamdani the most are not people who pay bills every day.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number 1
for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. This could wind up being the final day of the federal government shutdown. The House expected to vote today on a Senate-approved bill to end the shutdown. The bill would then go to President Trump, who is expected to sign it. Transportation Secretary Duffy says if the shutdown does end now, there's still time to salvage holiday travel.
As we come into Thanksgiving, this is the Super Bowl of air traffic controlling, right? It's massive movement of Americans. And again, this shutdown is going to get us to a place where we can get controllers back in our facilities controlling the airspace.
Federal workers have missed a couple of paychecks. That's putting a bit of a dent in the economy.
So that means less spending on restaurant meals, less spending on travel, delayed purchases of larger things like cars or furniture. People are unlikely to spend on those large items when they don't have a paycheck.
National economics correspondent Chris Rugaber. President Trump has riled his MAGA base by saying that American workers are not talented enough for some jobs.
During a Fox News Channel interview, the president defended the H-1B visa program as a way to bring in talent for high-skilled jobs. It's a hot-button issue for MAGA supporters who argue H-1Bs take jobs away from Americans. But Donald Trump said the U.S. doesn't have qualified workers for certain positions, saying you can't take people off an unemployment line and put them in a factory. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Baby formula manufacturer ByHeart is recalling all of its products sold nationwide. The move comes days after a more limited recall amid an expanding outbreak of infant botulism. At least 15 babies in 12 states have been sickened in the outbreak since August, with more cases pending. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures are up 122 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 166 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Right now in Ukraine, elderly Jews are trapped in unbearable poverty. Galina, she's a 96-year-old Holocaust survivor who has spent her entire life in the same village. She's sick and alone and facing another bitterly cold winter. And today, like every day, she has to decide to spend what little money she has on food, medicine, or heating. No one should have to live like this, but for Galina and so many others, this is the harsh reality. Look, the Bible tells us that when you bless elderly Jews living in poverty like Galina, you will receive blessings in return. Through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews and your generous donation, you can bring hope to those in need. Your gift of just $25 will help provide a food box packed with life-saving essentials that help feed an elderly Jew struggling to survive. Don't delay. Your gift today will help provide the life-saving food and hope that Galina and many like her so desperately need. UrgentIFCJ.org. That's one word, UrgentIFCJ.org, or call now at 866-338-IFCJ. 866-338.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures this morning going to be starting back out towards the 40-degree mark.
We'll continue to see temperatures back towards mid-60s this afternoon, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures into Thursday look very similar, an increase in cloud cover than this upcoming weekend. Friday into Saturday, temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll cool down slightly into Sunday, a high of 63 degrees, and next week some isolated chances of some showers. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Alamo Military Collectibles and Monocle's Pizza.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Mike Ferguson.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Susie Moore.
Get out of here and stop playing victim.
Get up, St. Louis.
We have federal regulations that prohibit hunting duck, and yet it's legal to hunt humans.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, promises were made during the election last year, especially in Missouri. Governor Kehoe apparently about to follow up on that. He announced this week that there is a plan coming to reduce and eliminate the income tax, the state income tax in Missouri. A little bit earlier today, we caught up with our friend Camellia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. Here's how that discussion went. All right, big promises were made during the campaigns. Are we going to see some follow through?
Let's find out.
Yes, especially in Missouri, where we've got the legislative session coming up in less than 2 months. We are getting there.
Before you know it.
Yep. I'm joined now by Camellia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. And Camellia, I saw the headline. Governor Kehoe says he's going to announce his proposal to eliminate the state income tax. Now, we don't have the details unless you're privy to something that I'm not, and I don't know when he's going to be announcing that, but I like that there was a follow through, and he says, nope, we haven't forgotten. We're putting something forward. Do we know anything about the approach that he may want to take on this?
Good morning. Well, yeah, it's very good to see the governor continuing on his commitment to eliminating the income tax. And, you know, from his remarks yesterday, I think that we can probably look for a plan that's very similar to what went through the legislature this last year. And because, you know, when you talk about, he did mention that it will go to a vote of the people and that there will be alternative, they'll be looking for alternative streams of revenue. I think, you know, just spread that tax burden out. So I think that, you know, a lot of it will be similar to what they worked through last year. I think that there was just more time needed to work through the details of that.
Good morning, Camellia. I was one of the lucky people who got to attend the AFP event a few months ago about this issue. And I mean, it was kind of an enthusiastic crowd. And I think that you're going to see a pretty good appetite for this. But what do you say to the naysayers and the ones who say, if we do away with the income tax, we're going to be, you know, losing all that revenue, and how are we going to replace it? Setting aside the fact that we should be looking at how we can just cut our expenses to begin with.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think that's just it. Is that this does also have to be a combination of not just, you know, redistributing the tax burden, but it also has to be budget cuts as well. And those are things that, you know, everybody's been talking about that we are going to have to be looking at anyway, because we all know that, you know, the COVID money is no more. And, you know, that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, some of that federal spending is getting cut in the state. And that is a positive thing, because Missouri needs to live within its budget, so to speak, right? Just like we do. And so we need to find ways to do that. But I think, the people that are pushing back on this, I would say that I would not expect there to be any perfect solutions, but I think that we find the best way to do this. And when you talk about how we do taxes in our state, we need to look at making sure that that is done fairly. And, there's not one class of people or one certain segment of people that are bearing that burden more than others. And, I think a lot of the things that we've heard some legislators talk about when we talk about kind of restructuring that a little bit is that if you could shift that to more of a consumption tax, that also allows us to shift some of that tax burden to people traveling through the state as opposed to on Missourians solely.
Yeah, that leads into what I was about to ask, because I was looking through, you called them the naysayers, I call it government first thinking. For a lot of these, they're saying, well, sales taxes are regressive. They hit the poor more than they hit the wealthy. That's the argument that they make in the first place. Why does it matter how we do the taxes when the goal is to lower the tax burden overall? Why does the method make a difference?
Sure. The income tax is probably the most insidious of all of the taxes that we have to deal with, because you don't have to pay it. It just comes out of your paycheck, and you're barely aware that the government is taking it from you, and they do it through your employer. So that whole setup is wrong to begin with. But when you do it in terms of like a sales tax, or what we would call a consumption tax, that gives you some choice in the matter. You can choose if you are going to pay more tax by buying more expensive things, or you can choose how much tax you pay by how much you spend. So this at least gives you more control over how much you're paying.
Camellia, the nice thing about having this discussion now is that it isn't just theoretical. We can see how doing away with the income tax works in other states nearby. Tennessee has gone great guns, and I know Glenn Jacobs was one of the speakers. He's the mayor of, I think, Knoxville,
Knox County,
at that event, and obviously Tennessee has had great success with it. Other states have also had success. What's one of the strongest selling points when people are trying to see how this actually works in practice in terms of other states that have set examples?
So I think when you talk about growth, economic growth in the states who have eliminated or are very close to eliminating the income tax are experiencing much more growth than Missouri is. Missouri's been economically stagnant for quite a long time now. And I think that, we've made good progress in kind of chipping away at, reducing it down a little bit more, when we achieve a certain amount of growth. But when you look at tax models, and this gets way into the weeds, right? But when you look at tax models, if you try to reduce your tax rate just on the growth alone, it will take you a very long time. So you really need a comprehensive approach. You need to come at it in a lot of different ways so that you get the perfect storm, so to speak. But, when people are talking about, I can't tell you how many times that we've heard this, when people are talking about where they are going to move, or whether or not they are going to stay in a state, one of the main things that you will hear them talk about is whether or not that state has an income tax.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this, like, one of the things people will point out is that, if you reduce the income tax or eliminate the income tax, you're going to raise our property taxes. And the answer is no, we are not going to do that. So fortunately for Missouri, property taxes are locally voted on and assessed. So the state is not going to do that to compensate for the income tax.
We're visiting with Camellia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. Okay, so the governor said this would be something that goes to the voters. So do we have any idea whether he's talking about a constitutional amendment to restructure taxes, or whether he's thinking a referendum? Why not just work with the legislature and deal with the tax rates that way?
Because of the Hancock Amendment, anytime if you were to add, kind of broaden the tax base with the sales tax, because there are certain industries that are exempted that got carve-outs for themselves, several years ago in terms of sales tax. So if you were to spread that back out and make that more fair, because you would be putting a tax again on those entities, that anytime we do any kind of a tax change like that, it has to go to a vote of the people. That's in the Missouri Constitution. So that's why it has to go to a vote of the people.
And are there other measures or other avenues that you think this session is going to take a look at to kind of go hand in hand with that in terms of tax relief? I know we've talked about the property tax issue, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, property tax, I think, is going to still be a hot issue. It's probably, I know it sounds weird, but it's probably more difficult to get done than even the income tax. And that is because it is locally voted on and assessed. However, there are some things that can be done and should be done. And we are definitely pushing, along with eliminating the income tax, we need to start lowering the personal property tax as well. And get to the point where we can eliminate that too. In fact, I will say that in some of the income tax proposals that went through in this last session, part of the plan in those was that not only are you cutting the income tax, but you are also creating this fund that as revenue comes in and you have this savings so that as you have growth from eliminating the income tax, you are putting that money towards other things like reducing the personal property tax to where we can eventually grow our way out of that. But I think that will be a hot issue as well. We just did an event with Representative Richard West the other night about personal property, and he has had legislation that he filed last time and will file this next time, and so we will be pushing that and looking at that as well.
And of course, you can hear Richard West every weekend here on Newstalk STL as he's co-host of St. Charles County Patriot Radio. Okay, so when you mentioned the COVID money, and I think that is a part of this that so many people forget, because there were warnings from fiscal conservatives over and over and over saying you're getting all of this influx of COVID money, but you're now setting new budget standards. You can't make this the norm. Otherwise, we're going to have to raise taxes to keep up with the spending. And even though Republicans control the legislature and control the government, there were just too many who didn't listen because they wanted access to all of that money. And you could even make a similar argument to the Medicare funds under the Obama administration that there was an argument over.
That's right. And I think that, one of the things, I say this about DESE, about Department of Education all the time, but I think it's true for most of our state agencies, is we don't really have a spending problem. We have a money management problem. And so, or I should say, we don't have a funding problem. We do have a spending problem. We have a money management problem, though. And so, when you talked about all that COVID money coming in, like, it's just been, 2-3 years ago where schools were flush with money. I mean, they had more money than they knew how to spend. And so what has happened to all of that? I think the same can be true, across all agencies, that as that COVID money came in, how did we spend that? And because it wasn't getting spent on the things that it was supposed to be getting spent on. But I think there are a lot of efficiency measures that need to be looked at too. One of the things that I'm looking forward to in this next session is really focusing more on some of the legislation that Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman had filed last time. And it specifically looks at the redundancies and the things in the system, whether it is property that the state owns that needs to be consolidated and sold, or things that were just really inefficiencies that, a lot of people don't look like, but all of those little things add up to the bottom line, and we need to be better at managing our money.
All right. And we keep track of all the events coming up for Americans for Prosperity. How and where?
You can find out what we're doing at afpmissouri.com, and there's an events page there. You can also see what all kinds of things we're working on, and you can email your legislators and all kinds of good things.
All right. Thanks again, Camellia. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Camellia.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I've driven all over Washington, D.C. I cannot find the money tree.
On Newstalk STL.
Making cold mind to fight your war.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again. because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. On behalf of Tim Jones and I just want to thank you for making Jeffco Patriot Radio the #1 listened to show on Sundays here on News Talk STL, where we dive into all the things happening in and around Jefferson County. Check Tim Jones and I out on Jeffco Patriot Radio this and every Sunday at high noon here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, but is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, it's Chris Salcedo, your liberty-loving Latino on Newsmax. Everybody likes Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, the shutdown could be over today. We could be in the final hours of the shutdown officially.
Already?
Could be. Probably. We'll see. And Missouri fined hundreds of truck drivers who can't speak English fluently.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that this story, when it was published a day or two ago, that this isn't getting more traction throughout the state. I thought people would really zone in on this, but as far as I know, we're the only ones really talking about it.
And if those are just the ones they caught, that's not all of them either.
Good point. And the Blues had a good night, so maybe they're putting something together. We'll see here. All right, 8:21 right now. Let's go ahead and let's do another news dump, shall we?
The morning news dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The morning news dump.
Very, very early this morning, the House Rules Committee did this.
8 yeas, 4 nays.
The ayes have it. The motion to report is agreed to.
Okay, so that advances to the full House of Representatives, the funding bill that would end the government shutdown. The Democrats all voted against reopening the government as well. So the House is expected to vote later today to pass that bill. The Democrats will stomp their feet and will throw a fit and, we'll get their sound bites in. But unless something completely unexpected happens, President Trump will sign that into place later today, and all of the elements of the government will reopen at the federal level.
Now, do you think it's going to be more that they're going to switch their tune and say, well, we actually were fighting to open the government to get funding for all these programs? Or do you think they're going to double down and say, well, we were fighting for we had to keep it shut down?
Yeah.
Which way do you think
I think it'll be the latter, probably. But like, for instance, the late night host last night, they all ripped on the Democrats for quote unquote caving in to the Republicans. I mean, and so they're kind of eating their own right now. So they're going to have to try to justify keeping the government shut down, because nobody, what they're trying to argue is, well, we had to keep it shut down because you didn't give us what we wanted. And they didn't articulate their message well, to the point where even some of the leftist media is mad at them for giving up.
Yeah, I mean, all I remember about their point was they want to add a ridiculous amount of spending, and they want us to suffer because it's good for them somehow.
Well, in 2026 elections, I mean, when people are suffering, you're mad at the party in power.
True.
That's just a reality of it. And of course, the suffering is going to continue, particularly when it comes to air travel. So Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy was on Hannity last night on Fox saying that one of the problems is a worker shortage of air traffic controllers. So here's one of the ideas that he has to keep more air traffic controllers on the job.
Congress has to increase that retirement age of 56. What I can do, though, is offer a waiver up to 62, from 56 to 62. I've offered any controller who's 56 and is willing to stay on the job, I'm offering them a waiver if they pass the medical.
Okay, they need to change that because you can be not in the prime of your health, but still in really good health in this day and age at 56. The idea that that's your retirement age at 56 is just crazy to me. But then again, I'm 53.
Yeah, the fact that they can retire at 50, I went in the wrong career.
They had to.
They had? Okay, well, so that is a little young to be forced to retire. But I mean, gosh, if you can afford at 56 to be retired, that's fantastic.
Good for you.
Yeah.
If I could afford to be retired, I'd probably do it right now.
Yeah.
Just saying. So over 16,000 flights were delayed yesterday. 2,000 flights were canceled. That's not going to go away if and when they reopen the government today. That's going to continue happening for a while because they're not going to have the air traffic controllers in place. So basically what the secretary has said is once they have the data to show that they can manage the capacity, they will get those flights back up and running again. But this could be days or even weeks still.
Yeah, it's like throwing a pebble into the water. You see the ripple effects happen, and the things that needed to go somewhere needed to still get there. So
that's exactly it. Okay, Missouri officials have cited and they have pulled CDL licenses from almost 500 truck drivers. The drivers failed English proficiency testing. In some cases, Missouri Net is reporting that the drivers were actually stopped by police and they couldn't communicate, and the police would not allow them to get back in the cab. The trucking companies had to send other drivers out in some of those cases. That's how bad the communication obstacle was. English fluency requirements stopped being enforced in 2016, and they were brought back this year due to an executive order from President Trump.
Now, was it that they've removed that policy and so it was no longer a requirement, or was it just, we're not going to enforce it?
It was just, we're not going to enforce it. Under the Obama administration, they stopped enforcing it. And it wasn't until this Trump administration that they've reinforced it.
I've seen firsthand the dangers that come with people that are operating heavy machinery, not being able to communicate with the person trying to guide them.
Yeah.
There needs to be some sort of investigation into who was getting these people their license to begin with, and there needs to be charges.
Yep, precisely. All right, Darren Bailey says he is staying in the race for governor of Illinois. A Republican made that announcement this week. Bailey's son, I'm sure everybody remembers the tragedy here. Bailey's son, his daughter-in-law, 2 of his grandchildren were killed in a helicopter crash last month. I don't know when he's going to be back out on the campaign trail, but he is going to stay in the race.
Yeah, it's unfortunate and tragic. I mean, even if you don't agree with his politics, just the strength and courage to get back in the horse after that.
Yeah.
Godspeed to you.
Yeah. And they've got a competitive race for that Republican nomination. So, he's not guaranteed to win that nomination. He's got the most name recognition, but it's a competitive race. So we'll see how this goes. Okay. Justice Department is launching an investigation into the violence that broke out at the University of California, Berkeley this week. That protest was against the Turning Point USA event. The Justice Department blaming Antifa for this, which, the Trump administration declared a terrorist organization in September. On the Ingram Angle on Fox, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, says there's going to be a thorough investigation.
I also have concerns about UC Berkeley's history of not protecting conservative speakers on the campus. And I also have concerns, as the top civil rights lawyer in the United States, about whether the Berkeley police are doing their job under the law to protect citizens equally.
Okay, so she says the university police possibly violated the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution and is accusing them of being biased.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, for a group that the left refuses to acknowledge as a group, they sure are good at coordinating and getting places to cause a ruckus, and they have matching uniforms. I mean, but it's insane, though, that this is a group we've known about that has caused problems since before the first President Trump administration. And yet the police are still not able to identify, here comes that group again, and we maybe should do something.
Just an idea.
Just an idea.
Just an idea. Good Lord. Okay, the Supreme Court has agreed to decide whether states can continue to count late arriving mailed-in ballots.
Justices took up an appeal from Mississippi after the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last year that the state law allowing properly postmarked ballots that arrive shortly after Election Day to be counted violated federal law. Mississippi is among 18 states and the District of Columbia that accept such ballots. President Trump strongly opposes those late arriving ballots. The case will be argued in the late winter or early spring. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so when they say properly postmarked ballots, they're saying that the envelope has a postmark that is Election Day or before it. And then for whatever reason, the ballots show up late. Now, when mail-in ballots were originally done, they either had to be in by Election Day or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody said, yeah, but if you put them in the mailbox that day, then listen, Election Day is Election Day. I don't think there should be mail-in ballots at all. Now, I'm obviously, servicemen and women overseas, they've got to get theirs in. I don't even mind early voting. I vote early sometimes, but you still have to be in person. You still have to show your ID. You still have to do it the same way. But they're saying in some cases, like in some of the blue states, ballots would show up a week later or even more. And they're saying, well, they're going to count. No.
So devil's advocate here, because I agree with you. I don't think mail-in ballots should be the normal unless there's like extremely good reason for it. But at the same time, we've seen that there are people that want to be activists that will go out there and they will intentionally delay and tamper with and stuff. So I can understand why you would still count it if it was properly marked, because you don't want some rogue mail deliverer sitting there saying, haha, your votes don't count now.
Yeah, that could happen. Let's just put it that way. Okay, the Blues get the win at home over the Flames. Final score at Enterprise was 3-2. Dylan Holloway, Matthew Kessel both had goals in the first period. Nathan Walker added another in the second period. Jordan Bennington had 38 saves.
Wow.
38.
Good job.
That's the good news.
Oh.
The bad news is they got 40 shots on goal. That's a lot of shots on goal. But 38 saves. Blues play again at home on Friday. Philadelphia Flyers going to be in town for that one.
And just when we thought we were safe, is there another area government pushing DEI rules? Wait, what?
Yep.
Well, okay, Mike will bring you the details on that at 8:35.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures this morning going to be starting back out towards the 40-degree mark. We'll continue to see temperatures back towards mid-60s this afternoon, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures into Thursday look very similar, an increase in cloud cover than this upcoming weekend. Friday into Saturday, temperatures into the mid-70s. We'll cool down slightly into Sunday, a high of 63 degrees. And next week, some isolated chances of some showers. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Fox News Commentary with Will Kane. Next.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM. Visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Here's Will Kane.
Democrats have caved. That, of course, is not going over well with the base. That, of course, is not going over well with the rest of Democrats. AOC and J.B. Pritzker would tell you it is about health care. They want the Obamacare subsidies extended through COVID with a sunset date written into the law to be extended. And they argue if those Obamacare subsidies are not extended, then the price of health care on average Americans will go up. They are the ones concerned about the price of health care. Like Ronald Reagan famously said, they are from the government knocking on your door and they are here to help. And that should make you very, very afraid, because everything the Democrats and everything the government touches simply gets more expensive.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Looking for treasures from the past? Discover Mimi's Antiques Attic, your locally owned and family-operated treasure hunt destination. Explore 16,000 square feet of antiques, crafts, collectibles, and designer items across 225 unique rental spaces. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sundays, 10 to 6, at 1000 Warrenton Shops in Warrenton. Mimi's Antiques Attic, where every visit uncovers new treasures.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
NPR, guess what? Cut the funding, and they're going to close down operations. If they're not going to get federal funding, well, then guess what? There are plenty of radio salespeople out there in the United States who can sell time, big time. You know why they don't sell hire a sales team? Because nobody will buy advertising because they suck so bad.
Oh my God.
You don't see people.
You're so correct. That's it right there. Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hello, Kirk Elsinger, Chairman of the Republican Party, City of St. Louis. Join us for our Christmas party on December 11th. Tickets may be purchased by cash or check, or you may purchase tickets through our website at stl-gop.com. We'll have dinner and silent auction. In addition, we will be collecting donations for Toys for Tots. So bring an unwrapped toy for a family in need. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we look forward to fighting for you in 2026.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer. News, analysis, opinion.
He lines up 4 deals with countries.
Trump signed trade and mineral deals with Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam.
He's a great leader. 101.9 and 94.1.
Number 1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Okay, is the Sam Page administration pushing DEI stuff or DEI-ish stuff? And it's one thing to say, okay, this is how we're going to run the government and you can vote me in or vote me out and this is my worldview. But what happens if they start pushing that on private companies? Is that actually happening in the private sector as well?
It better not be.
Yeah, we're talking right now to David Stokes from the Show Me Institute. David, so let's lay the foundation here. I saw this piece in the Post-Dispatch here. So the Page admin, or basically the county, let me just say the county generically, is looking at what? Quotas for certain contracting and subcontracting, but it's not just with what their projects are. Am I reading this right in that this could be imposed outside of government contracts and in the private sector?
Absolutely, Mike. But to be clear, it's not as far as I can tell, it's not really being pushed heavily by the Page administration. It's more by Councilmember Webb, who has introduced a substitute bill for Bill 182. And that is the original bill was just updating the purchasing code for St. Louis County government, how they buy stuff, go out for bid, get vendors, all those things. Mm-hmm. But the substitute bill that was dropped last week and was perfected 6-1, including by some votes from people who I don't think knew what was in the new bill. It's a very long bill in their defense. It is taking the county rules for large government projects, things like paying prevailing wages, which really increase costs of projects, requiring apprenticeship programs for the companies that are doing the bidding, which really favors union companies, and requiring that contractors have women and minority-owned business contracting regulations, meaning that they're going to set aside a certain percent of the business for women and minority-owned companies, which is just a program that's rife with fraud throughout the country and in Missouri. And all of this is now, instead of just being applied to, it's bad enough that it's common for large government projects, but they're making it applicable to basically every county project, even tiny ones. And here's even worse, any project in the county that gets any type of tax incentive or tax subsidy, no matter how small, no matter if it's within a municipality and that doesn't involve St. Louis County, these deals are going to now be covered by these rules. And as your regular listeners know, and as you know, I'm no fan of tax incentives and tax subsidies, but this is not the way to go about trying to limit those. Adding new rules and regulations to so many new projects in St. Louis County is going to be, I think, just very economically harmful for the county.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the prices being driven up. I mean, basically what it sounds like is, to some degree, the union simply will just set the cost, and they'll set it as high as they possibly can, because that's what unions do. They want to milk every penny out of everything that they can. But this subcontracting stuff, as far as the women and minority-owned businesses as well, what happens if there just aren't enough of those around? I mean, let's for a moment pause from the right or wrong aspect of it. What happens if you can't find somebody to meet that quota at this point? So you're trying to socially engineer something through government funds.
Absolutely. And that is one of the, in my blog post at showmeinstitute.org on this, there's links to studies that say one of the reasons those programs increase prices on taxpayers is because there are often so few bidders who are able to fit those requirements. So as basic economics would indicate, if you have a small number of bidders for anything, you're going to pay more because there's less competition. Yeah. So that absolutely happens. I think in instances, if you can demonstrate that for a certain project there is no company that fits, you can get a waiver. But overall, there usually are companies that will fit this, that fit this disadvantaged business enterprise rule, but it's a very small number of them. And certainly not all of them, but many of them are front anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fraud in this program around these programs around the country. So then you add in prevailing wage. Many municipal governments do not require, cities do not require prevailing wage on their contracts, nor should they. Now you've got to dramatically increase costs, because that too is going to limit the number of bidders who can come in. There's no point in coming in and trying to get a project with a lower bid if you have to pay the same higher wages as the largest union company. So it's all, the Post story on this, Mike, was very clear that it's basically unions wrote much of this bill.
Yep.
And it's just right out there at it. And, there's nothing wrong with apprenticeship programs. That's the one part of the deal that isn't automatically wrong. But to require every bidder for many of these projects have an apprenticeship program, that's just an impossible requirement, and again done to favor union bidders at the expense of competition. So this proposal is bad all the way around, and I think and look, again, I'm not a friend of tax incentives and tax subsidies, and I'd love to see far fewer of them in St. Louis County, but adding just gigantic new costs, red tape, and regulation to every project in the county that has even the slightest one of them, that's the wrong way to go about addressing it.
Yeah, I mean, not to oversimplify things, but somebody says, okay, well, what's the prevailing wage? Well, it's whatever the local union says it is essentially the way it works in Missouri. Is that they set their own paycheck because of union friendly, taxpayer unfriendly policies like this. Okay, so Dave, we're visiting with Dave Stokes from the Show Me Institute. A lot of people may be saying, well, wait a minute, didn't all this stuff just get banned, at the federal level from the Trump administration? We're not supposed to do DEI stuff for these sort of contracts. Does that not trickle down to a local level? Is the county allowed to do this?
Oh, absolutely. That's another major concern here. As you know, the city of St. Louis just canceled much of its women and minority business designation program because it was violating new federal rules, and many of these projects that get have a government project or have a tax incentive, whatever it may be, many of them do get some type of federal funds. Maybe there's a federal subsidy, or maybe there's just federal funds for a road project. Who knows? That won't be rare, and you're going to have bidders who are really put in a bad position there. Now, it depends a little bit on how the county sets up the women and minority-owned business program. There are ways to do it constitutionally, unlike what the city had, which was completely unconstitutional under the new rules that I agree with, of course. So it depends on how the county sets it up, but you're going to put a lot of bidders in a potential tight spot where they risk violating federal rules on some of these projects in order to comply with new county rules. So yes, a very legitimate concern, and yet one more reason why this proposal is just so bad.
What kind of projects are we talking about? Is there a wide scale, or is this just construction, or what type of work are we talking about?
No, it's a wide scale. I mean, it's not just construction. Now that may be the bulk of it, and that's what maybe most people think about. But if you're doing a new commercial development, a new road, a new bridge, but just a commercial retail development that gets some type of subsidy, a new housing development that gets some type of subsidy. And again, I'm not a fan of these subsidies. And if we had a lot fewer incentive and subsidy use because of this, that could be a silver lining. But still, you do not want to apply you're going to have so many companies refusing to do business in St. Louis County, or they won't be able to because they're a smaller construction company or a smaller developer, and they can't afford to comply with these new rules. It's very expensive to comply with these regulations should they pass. So it affects every job done by any government other than a very, very tiny project. Any government in the county, any project, even if it's completely private, that gets any type of tax incentive anywhere in the county, it's an incredible expansion. I would tell you, Mike, that I don't think the county has legal authority to do some of this. Some of these incentives, the county is involved in some of them, but others would just be entirely at the city level. So how the county has the legal authority to require this in those cases, that'll probably be settled by a lawsuit. But that lawsuit just means more county spending of county tax dollars to defend an indefensible bill. So I really hope this is supposed to be up for final passage next week, and I hope some of the council members who voted for it on perfection now realize all the terrible public policy that's in it and change their mind.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is what's the status of this bill? So there's one more vote. So what, next Tuesday then most likely is when the county will decide whether or not to set these sorts of rules into place. And I've actually seen some of the fraud where basically, hey, we can get this contract if it's a WBE or an MBE, women business enterprise, minority business enterprise, what they used to call them, and just have somebody become the token whatever to get that pass-through subcontract. And I know that it happens, and it has happened for years. So this isn't set in stone. There's a final vote coming up, but the Democrats all tend to favor this, overall. So they do have the votes to pass it. Does it have to be just a simple majority to adopt it?
It does, but then if the Page administration vetoes it, and I have no idea what their plans would be, but I do know that at the hearing last week and in prior hearings that some of the county administration staffers in the Department of Purchasing administration have expressed concerns about how far this goes. So I don't think the Page administration is necessarily supportive. That said, is he in a position to veto it?
Right.
If he vetoes it, then it will require a supermajority to pass it. But if he doesn't, then they just need 4 votes next Tuesday to get it. They had more than 4 on perfection last week, but again, I think when you drop a substitute bill of an 80-page bill, it's very long on short notice. Sometimes it's just impossible to know everything that's in it. You sort of trust the council member who put it in. But as the Post-Dispatch story indicates, the council member who introduced it didn't seem to necessarily know everything that was in it because the union just wrote it. So it's all very concerning. It would just be terrible for economic growth in St. Louis County.
Do we have any idea to quantify what the extra cost would be to the government, to the taxpayers, or is it still such obscure phase on this right now that we don't even know how much it would cost?
Well, we don't know how much this exact bill would cost, but as I talk in my blog post at showmeinstitute.org, there are plenty of studies, and I linked to them in the blog post about how much prevailing wage contracting can increase costs of a project. It can be significant. There's been studies that found up to 25% increase in cost. How much cost from limiting your number of bidders by these minority and women-owned business contracting requirements and apprenticeship programs really reduces the pool of people who are going to bid. And yes, we link to studies that document that. So just because we can't give a precise number on this bill that just came down last week doesn't mean that we do not know for sure that costs will go up substantially on all sorts of projects in St. Louis County if this policy passes. Okay,
so last question here, because I'm a little over time, Dave, is that somebody will argue that, hey, a lot of these women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, they're not going to win bids if it's just wide open. And to everybody, they're going to lose out to the better politically connected, larger companies, national companies, that sort of thing. What would be a better way to offer more opportunity for government contracts?
A better opportunity is to remove so many of these rules and regulations so that small businesses, smaller contracts, and many women and minority-owned contractors are smaller, so that they can compete without these requirements.
Yeah.
I mean, you put all these rules and regulations that affect the big guys, and then it's easy to argue that you have to have these mandates for the smaller minority-owned or women-owned businesses. Well, get rid of all the rules and regulations here that make it more expensive to bid in the first place, and then the smaller companies can do a bid. Look, this isn't the 1950s where, I refuse to believe that in 2025 the St. Louis County government is discriminating against women and minority-owned businesses in their bidding system. Like, it just isn't happening now. It is a level playing field for people, and some of the things that make it less level are too many rules, too much red tape, and too many regulations that hurt the smaller competitors. So get rid of more of them, and those small businesses owned by whomever will be able to make bids and win bids on county projects and private projects and everything else.
Yeah, and then not to mention that first and foremost, it should be about the taxpayers and the voters should be the primary concern, not the special interest. All right, Dave Stokes, Show Me Institute. You mentioned the blog, the website a couple times. Let's go ahead and do it one more time where people can find this and all your other work.
Well, the blog is under the simple heading of something we all learned in kindergarten: two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not a fan of tax incentives, but this type of dramatic expansion of government authority is a terrible idea. Up at showmeinstitute.org.
All right. Thanks, Dave. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Got some thoughts on that? Let's hear it. 314-912-1019. I've got a confession to make. I cheated on Mario's this week. Somebody brought in some donuts and they were fine, but I'm like, well, it's not Mario's, but you know what? A donut's a donut. That's not true. It was okay, but first bite, there was a massive difference than the chain places, and it was dry, it was small, it was clearly not fresh. Mario's Donuts over on Mugi Road, just mariosdonutrestaurant.com. You are getting those delicacies that are made right here, made locally, right here in the community. By the way, you can stop in and sit down and have a good cup of coffee. Or if you're not looking for the donut, you're looking for a breakfast sandwich or some lunch, you can do that too. But Mario's Donut Restaurant, there is a difference. And now I'm kind of spoiled on the good stuff. And I guess you can call me a donut snob a little bit now. Because it was such a big difference. I am telling you, it's worth it. So check out mariosdonutrestaurant.com. By the way, they can cater your office meeting or party or whatever it is. So grab some lunch, grab a wrap, grab a gyro. They've got it out there. Just put Mario's Donuts in your maps or your GPS. It'll take you right there, and tell them Mike was bragging about him on the radio, and he's sorry for cheating on them.
Jamie Ullman here with the great Eric Swanson of Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. Tell me about Wow Diamonds.
Wow Diamonds. We call them that because when people come in and look at the diamonds, everyone says, wow. We feature those in natural diamonds, the mine diamonds. They're perfectly cut, polished, and proportioned. Not all diamonds come out of the cutting process the same, and ours are perfect. That's why they're called Wow Diamonds.
Newstetter's Fine Jewelers right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend, wowdiamonds.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area. And I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way. And right now, it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. So no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD. for the Walner Home Selling Team.
News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, couple quick reminders. One, that conversation we just had with Dave Stokes from Show Me Institute, you can easily share that with members of the county council. That's going to be posted as a podcast here in a little bit, and I would encourage you to do that.
Yes.
Also, we've got our food drive going on. We haven't mentioned that a whole lot today. Our food drive is up and running this week. Great response so far. What I would love to see is that we prove what we have been saying about, basically our values as conservatives and libertarians. Although, listen, those of you on the left, this is a way we can all unite on something. We are supporting the ministry of Feed My People right here in St. Louis. And so find those bins. All the locations are listed at newstalkstl.com with NewsTalkSTL and the St. Louis County GOP Central Committee. Let's fill those bins, empty them, fill them again, and then make sure that they're able to work with people in such a good, holistic way to get them from the bad situation they're in into a self-sustaining, productive life that they want with that dignity of life. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, one of the most frustrating things I encounter in my day-to-day is people say, wow, why aren't there more people stepping up to go do that? Well, you could be one of those people.
That's
so
right.
let's go ahead and put our food where their mouths are and just come and get to see the people in your community. I mean, you're probably going to run into some people you haven't met before, like, oh, you're dropping off food too. It's nice to meet you. Say hello.
And one of the bins is right here at the radio station.
Yeah.
So come on out and say hi. Okay, let me follow up a little bit. For a little while, I got out of the media industry for a little bit, and I did human resources and staffing.
Oh.
I really enjoyed it, actually. Really enjoyed it. But I was working for a business in another city, and it was owned by a woman, very, very smart businesswoman, very capable. But her bread and butter was the WBE, getting certified as a women-owned business enterprise.
Ooh.
Because what she really made her money on was government contracts because they had to hire women.
Oh,
they had to hire a women-owned business. They had to contract with a women-owned business. And we did staffing, a lot of like IT staffing and stuff like that. But that was her bread and butter. It wasn't about, we didn't have to be the best. They had set aside a certain percentage and there weren't that many out there. So she should just go in. And what was not funny, but what was interesting is I ended up being laid off. Because all of a sudden the rules changed under the Obama administration and suddenly they weren't emphasizing women-owned businesses. It was minority-owned businesses.
Oh.
So all of those contracts, a lot of those got yanked and were given to other, special interest demographic groups. And we lost like our 2 largest government contracts. Now I tended to focus on the private sector, parts of it. But that was the bread and butter for the business. And so, she wasn't wrong to say they're giving away the money. I'm going to go do it. But you live by the special interest. You die by the special interest.
I was going to say that it sounds like the perfect example of what you've been saying during this entire shutdown is that the government that can feed you can starve you.
Exactly. And so, it was just shuffling paperwork. And all that really mattered was it was owned by somebody in this demographic. And that's who got the taxpayer money.
Now, the interesting thing about that, though, is that there probably was a legitimate market need for those sorts of services, just not as contingent on government funding. So is there a ends justifying the means when it comes to this sort of stuff? Or are we just so used to finding grant money out of the wazoo that that's just,
Yeah, the staffing, like, for instance, we staffed a call center that was for the military. So basically, whenever military personnel were getting shifted around, there's an entire logistics department that helps them move their stuff and transfer. And we staffed the kind of the center that ran all of that, that's what we did. So it was a very legitimate purpose, a legitimate job for the military. And it just came down to, we're going to hire somebody to do it. And we're going to hire these categories based on their demographics, not based on who gave the best bid.
I'm surprised I wouldn't switch from female focused to minority focused. You didn't say, well, I'm a minority at this female-owned company.
Exactly.
I'm staying with the money.
We weren't allowed to say I identify as back then. But I remember her at one point, the owner of the business, she goes, I need to find somebody who's minority to, I can name like, some, like she was talking about, maybe I can just like name them in this position and still qualify. But, it's bad that that's still how we're making decisions at this point.
Mm-hmm.